Hi, my name is Desiree Springer.
Welcome, everyone. Good evening. I'm Frank Rano, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm calling the meeting Tuesday, January 21st, to order. The time is approximately 6:03. The meeting is streamed on the village website. The public can also participate via Zoom. Instructions and overall public participation guidelines are listed on the website and on page 5 of the meeting packet. The Village of Los Ranchos is providing the ability for the public to participate in hybrid meetings. As with any application, digital service, or software, the opportunity for failure can occur. Therefore, the village is not responsible for the inability to connect to the meeting, either by Zoom, by the Zoom link, or viewing via live stream. The meeting video and audio are recorded and will be available online after the village, on the village website. So roll call, Trustee Benavides.
Here.
Trustee Kiefer.
Here.
Trustee Radnovich.
Here.
Trustee Rhino here. Let's please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay. So is there then a motion to approve or amend the agenda?
Motion to amend the agenda. I have a correction. Does it need to get second first?
Sure, okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion?
Yeah, can I go ahead with
Sure,
my
go ahead,
correction?
yeah.
Just a very minor one, Danielle, on page 13, under informal discussion, the second bullet. This is in regards to the FU sign.
Mayor Pro Tem, excuse me, Trustee Benavides, we're not at approval of minutes yet. We're at approval of the agenda.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, approve the agenda.
I got ahead of myself. I don't have any amendments to the agenda. I withdraw my motion.
Trustee Kiefer?
So Mayor Pro Tem, if you would please ask for a motion to approve or amend the agenda.
Oh, okay. So is there then a motion to approve or amend the agenda?
Yes, I will make a motion to approve the agenda.
So let me call the question.
I'll second it.
Seconded, okay. Let me call the question then. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes. Yes.
Trustee Radnovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rhino, yes. Okay, motion carried. So this is an opportunity now for public comment. Only those participants who signed up prior to the meeting can speak on topics that do not appear on the agenda under the public comment and will be given 3 minutes. No action can occur on these items. If you have questions, please feel free to contact staff during business hours. So Danielle, can you please proceed by calling up individuals that have signed up for the general public comment?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, trustees. Our first person would be Ms. Camille Varos. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Yes, thank you, Danielle. Thank you, Board of Trustees and our pro temp mayor. Thank you. And all our residents that are present. Basically what I want to say, because I've rewatched a series, it's called New Amsterdam, and how can I help move forward with our future of our village, because there's a change, many changes, and changes occur. I did not support our inauguration president, or, yeah, I guess he's considered a president. But I do support what goes on in our village. I'd love to see that our agricultural environment is respected, but things are going to change, and they have changed. So how can I help without compromising my own beliefs and principles growing up in the village? But I know, with the housing costs, a lot of houses, there's not enough of them. And I was fortunate to grow up in a housing neighborhood setting, but that's not what's available now. And I want to be part of the solution and what can I do to help? And thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Varos. Mr. Jeff Phillips, if you would, please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Thanks. Jeff Phillips, 605 Schulte Road Northwest, Mayor Pro Tem, trustees. I am up tonight in my capacity as the Village Emergency Manager. As I've mentioned previously, one of the items we identified to improve after the November winter storm is public information and communications. The methods I'll mention in a moment apply to routine information, day-to-day updates, public notices, community events and meetings, time-sensitive updates such as road closures, and emergency public information. The basic strategy is one of a hub and spokes. If you make that image, the village website is the hub, and applaud Administrator Avila and staff have made efforts to enhance the site and keep it more current, and that'll continue. The primary spokes for outbound information are the village Facebook page and the village Text My Gov service, which I would strongly encourage people to subscribe for timely notices about closures and public meetings and that sort of thing. And if you have any questions about the service, talk with somebody who's using it, one of your neighbors. They'll probably tell you it's a really good idea. Another spoke is the Agri-Nature Center weekly email for information on events at that jewel that we've got in our community. So I manage the village emergency management channels on the social media. That includes a Facebook page, Twitter, Blue Sky, and more recently a next door, and use those channels for hazards, preparedness messages, and for two-way communications, specifically for situational awareness and coordination. So we hope you've noticed the improvement since the storm in November, and continue to request feedback. And I'm available at the village email address, jphillips@losranchosnm.gov. And just a real quick aside, many of you may know that I also help organize the community walks. And we have done 9 walks since mid-September, and about 160 people have taken part. These walks are a great opportunity to meet new and old friends and maybe see parts of the village that you're not familiar with, or from a different perspective on your feet rather than in a vehicle. Our next 3 walks are scheduled. The next one is this Saturday at 1:30, and it's focused on Vineyard, the Alameda Drain, and return via Edgewood. And we're meeting at the Sadie's parking lot, and look forward to anybody that'd like to come out. If you have need any information, walklosranchos@gmail.com. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Tom Donnellan, if you would, please approach the podium. State your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem and trustees. My name is Tom Donnellan. I reside at 6668 Edgewood Drive Northwest. And I'm talking on what's been the topic for the last 2 years. But it's a different aspect of it. I've hinted at it before, but there's now much talk about the palindrome village centers, Don's Folly, fits within the village zoning code, because the judge ruled that the former administration and trustees assigned decision-making for the P&Z documents and decisions in a development contract were illegal. That is in process. But to be real, will probably not change a thing about what palindrome rushed to build with the silence of the former administration. But all of this, I've never really heard anybody speak about how palindrome has performed as the village contracted developer of the village lands for the village center, for our village center. Was the former Board of Trustee and the public given the opportunity to evaluate the proposals and how palindrome has performed as the village's contracted developer? I don't think so, but I could be wrong. I haven't listened to all of the trustee meetings to know. My recollection was that when this did happen, the administration, or the people bringing it up, were told that it wasn't the time to do that evaluation, and there would be opportunity in a future date, a date which never came until the residents rose up and insisted on it. I would like to see a future agenda item on how the Board of Trustees evaluates palindrome's performance as a village hired developer on the overall proposal and the first residential phase. This isn't about how they performed regarding the zoning code, although that is a consideration among many things I think deserve consideration. Some of the things that I think is, does this proposal and their work to date comply with the village master plan? Does their proposal work to date to comply with the village center metropolitan redevelopment plan? Does their proposal and work to date comply or comport with the request for proposal and its scope of work? Have they faithfully complied with the development agreement? Have they delivered something that satisfies the village desire for a village center? Have they delivered something that, have they treated the village as a partner as they develop the village lands for the village?
they met with residents for input on
The
changes.
speaker's time has expired.
Can I have a few more, little bit more to finish this, Mayor Pro Tem?
Can you wrap it up in about 30 seconds?
Yeah, I'll try.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. They met with the residents for input on changes that could be made at the time. What of the suggestions were implemented and what haven't? Does this seem like they were responsive to the residents? Given your evaluation of Palindrome's performance to date, do you want to keep them going forward with the process as it currently stands? Does meeting the zoning requirements deliver the results the village wants? Or should there be a change in the process that allows the village to have influence just beyond, just the zoning regulations and to include more of a partner or employer considerations? And then I go on and on the written piece to cite several things that have occurred that I've discovered in my time wanting to know whether those to be considered. One of the major ones that I've not heard to date was that I have heard that La Montanita Co-op wanted to move to the village center, and Palindrome chose not to change the development plan to build the grocery store that they needed in time for them to, on La Montanita's timeframe, because they have to be out of the building on Rio Grande. And did that really serve this village, that decision to not change that schedule? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dennis Storner, if you would, please approach the podium, state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dennis Starner. I reside at 521 Chavez Road. I'm fairly new to the area. I built a new house there about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I live on that quarter-mile stretch between 4th and Guadalupe Trail. And I went online. I'm unsure of all the ins and outs about permitting in the village and all that, but I went online and I submitted some concerns about the traffic, as primarily the speed in that quarter mile, because it's 25, just like it is everywhere else, and it's very narrow. And I'm outside quite a bit. I'm retired. I do a lot of work in my yard, and there's people that go down that road, especially from the stop sign to 4th, before they hit the curves, I would say 50 mile an hour. And it's very dangerous. If you've ever, I encourage you all to just walk down it one day and try to survive. So what I would like to do, again, I put this online and I never received a response. So I'm not sure what the ins and outs about going online and contacting you and getting a response, but I never received anything. So I thought I'd come and talk in person. And I came down today to talk about permits. I got a few questions about permits, and people were busy and unable to talk. So somebody's supposed to get back to me on that as well. So I'm new, and I'm just very concerned about that quarter-mile strip of someone getting killed. We had a fence torn out this past summer. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I remember the day it happened. And my wife and I walk up and down there quite a bit, but we have to walk in single file, and you better walk with the traffic. I almost had a young teenage texter take us out one day. If we can reduce that speed limit from 25 to 15 like it is on the curves and that from 4th, maybe we can get the people to maintain a 30 mile an hour speed limit. So I think it's very dangerous, and I think it's of utmost concern before someone gets taken out. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem, may I say something?
Thank you.
We can't. I just wanted to apologize. Sorry.
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, that concludes public comment.
Okay, thank you, Danielle. Okay, So we move on then to approval of the minutes of December 17, 2024. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes, but I'll have a correction.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Excuse me. So, Trustee Benavides, you had a comment.
Just a minor correction for Danielle. On page 13, under informal discussion, in regards to the FU sign, I just want it to read, I think the public deserves to know, period. And I just found out recently, period. That otherwise it looks like a run-on sentence. I don't know if that's exactly how I said it, but it makes more sense to me that way, at least. That's all.
Thank you, noted.
Okay. So are there any other discussion for anybody? Okay. So can I call then the question? Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rana, yes. Okay, motion is passed. Okay. Presentations. We have a number of them this evening. I would ask the presenters to try and limit your presentations to about 10 minutes max, so that we'll be able to make sure that everyone has an opportunity. The first presentation is from our new Bernalillo County Sheriff's Office Northwest Area Commander, Santiago Roybal.
Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna look this way, okay? Thank you for having me tonight, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I have been a captain for about a month, but that doesn't mean I'm new. I have 20 years on the department. Some of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight are some technology that we have that will be helpful for the village and for all of the county, actually. A couple things we have technology-wise coming out there. It's called Flock Safety, Paraguin, and Fusus. It's so new that I don't know which does what, but I know overall what they do. I know talking about speeding and crimes where we can't have a deputy, these programs will help us catch people who are speeding, who are committing crimes, who are committing violent crimes. And what they do are they use cameras. So you all, if you have cameras at your home, at your businesses, here in the village, things that are already existing, you can sign up through the sheriff's office and give us different variations of access to those cameras. It's up to you. We have our own cameras up. They run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And what is helpful to deputies in the field, to the deputies that work for me, they can, if there's a car that is a black F-150 and it's driving recklessly and we get a call that comes out that way, there are about 15 to 20 black F-150s driving around in our area right now, which is not very helpful. So deputies will look for those individuals and they're stopping all these different vehicles. With this technology that we have now, we can go to the area if it's in the area of a camera. So the more cameras we have, the better, and get an actual picture of the offending vehicle, license plate, any distinguishing features about it, and then we can look for the individual vehicle. That takes I was a detective for 7 years. I wish we had something like this. So I'm saying it on a very minimal scale. We can use it for all different sorts of things, and it can even follow that vehicle as it travels through the county into the city, all over the place, so we can track them. It's a great system. It's a great tool for deputies. It's going to really help with crime and following up on investigations that would have taken years in the past. Another really cool thing we have is, so one of the units that is under the North Area Command is open space. You guys have a lot of beautiful open areas here, the Bosque, And the open space unit does swift water rescues, they do mountain rescues, and a tool that they have is a drone. They have a couple drones. And the sheriff's office has several. So even patrol deputies, a few of them have drones that if there's a barricaded subject, they can get the drone up and look inside of the residence. They can scan the bosque. They can scan areas where it would be difficult for a person to get to. And some of the bigger ones can actually drop off supplies to those people until we get there. So that's a big program. It's underneath the air unit, which we have a new helicopter as well, and that has been helping with crime significantly. So there are several times where a sheriff's deputy can't chase a vehicle in a pursuit, but the helicopter can follow them from a safe distance to where the individual doesn't even know they're being followed, and then we go to the end point. So even though the technology stuff, next time if you have more questions, I'll invite the lieutenant who's in charge of it, who's all about computers. I'm not that guy. But he can explain it much better. But we are going to start using it. We're being trained now. I go next week. Deputies and all the way up to the sheriff are going to this training, so we know how to use it. I'm excited about it. I don't think detectives should be able to call themselves detectives anymore because it's just looking things up. Maybe they'll be better than I was. I don't like that. I am excited. The sheriff's office has always had a really good relationship with the village of Los Ranchos. We hope to continue that. I hope to continue it and grow it while I'm here. And sir, something that we can do immediately, the traffic unit is under me, and I'll ask them to take a look at that section. They do a lot of patrol on motorcycles because they can hide better, so they can catch people when they're really speeding. It's a little harder when they're in a unit and they slow down as soon as they see the unit. So I'll get them working on that right away. Any questions for me, folks?
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, no problem. Fred can get a hold of me anytime, so if something comes
You had a
up.
question?
Thank you for being here, and thank you for your time. I know one thing that keeps coming up, because I keep getting emails on it, is can you kind of explain what resources the sheriff's department has, or how we can partner together for what we're kind of starting to see of an influx of the unhoused coming into the 4th Street corridor?
So we have victims liaisons and the behavioral health unit. Those are units that they're for people with any type of mental illness. But because of those resources, if we see people, like I can give you an example, the lady that lives on 4th Street. I talked to Fred about her Thursday or Friday evening to make sure that she had resources and wasn't going to injure herself being out there. So immediately I contacted all the sergeants at the area command. They continuously go out and check on her, trying to get her to make a better choice, to be someplace where she's safe. As far as them coming in, our quick reaction is the best tool we have. So we don't want them to start congregating and building bigger areas where they reside in. So the best way for us to do that is to offer them resources through the liaisons, and they offer them vouchers to stay in a hotel or motel for an evening up to a week. If some of them suffer from mental illness, they'll get in contact with their doctors. So that's the best way that we can do it. And obviously, if they're violating the law, they'll be arrested. The sheriff's office will always enforce the law, no matter the situation, but we will obviously offer resources to people first to try to get them on a better path.
So I think people think that they can just be loaded up and taken, but that's not the case, right?
No, they have to be violating law. So if they're trespassing, and arresting them isn't always the first thing we do. We treat people like people. That's taught. I just came from the academy for 2 years, and that's what the sheriff's office teaches from the very beginning of their training. And that's our culture. So we will always try to better their situation so they're not in this situation doing the same thing continuously or again if possible. It's not until they refuse resources, refuse to make changes, and are continuing to break the law that they'll be arrested. It's not the first thing ever.
No, that's good, and I just kind of wanted, because I don't think everybody understands kind of what that looks like. And so I wanted to pose the question so that hopefully those that watch this can hear firsthand that it's not as easy of, loading people up and moving them or taking them to shelter. But I do appreciate that the sheriff's office is doing a good job in making sure, with these temperatures, it's pretty scary out there for those individuals. And, of course, we want to be sensitive to their health and well-being, so.
Yeah, especially on Graveyard, and now that it's this cold, they go looking for people that they know are living in the streets, and may not have another option.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. So in your presentation, you were talking about utilizing technology in the village, and I take it that means placing cameras at certain locations, right?
Yes.
And maybe some of those cameras would be what we would consider to be the interior of the village, right? Residential streets, I suppose. So would there be a process whereby you work with the village governing body or administration to determine where those cameras should be placed?
Yeah, yes. So before we haven't put any cameras up in the village that I know of with flock safety. Do you know that we have? Oh, we have 5 of them.
Okay.
So we won't just put them up without permission. The reason why I brought it up is people can register their already existing cameras through that system with the sheriff's office. So
I
nothing
see.
has to be added. It'll just give us
Access.
to view them. And one option is to let us view it at any time, so we can log in and we use your cameras. Or if the other option is to have it record on the system continuously, but we won't have access to view it unless we get permission from the owner of the camera. So it's to give people privacy, especially if they have cameras in the interior of their home. Then they can submit that.
But you might put some of your own cameras up. Well.
So we have 5 already.
Yeah, but perhaps more are coming.
Yes.
And you'll work with the village to determine where
Yes,
those
sir.
locations should be. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other questions, George?
I just have a quick one. Can you guys patrol ditches, or is that the open space?
Open space unit is part of the sheriff's office.
And that's county open space?
Yes. So we can. The deputies that are in that unit have keys to the gates. They have off-road vehicles, bicycles, so they don't necessarily need a 4-wheeler or dirt bike. They patrol the ditch banks and the bosque pretty frequently for people that may need resources, or just, we don't want anyone to start fires, especially now.
So the bicycle light that I see coming down my acequia now and again might be you guys.
It might be, well, there'll at least be 2 of them together.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And they have fancy shirts. They love their shirts, so, yeah.
May I ask one more question, Mayor Pro Tem? I'm sorry. Kind of to Trustee Radnovich's point on ditches, embracing the agricultural feel of the village and kind of that semi-rural, does the county still use mounted patrols, horse-mounted patrols?
No, we don't. We don't have one. And this is even confused me when I started as a deputy. There's a mounted patrol, but none of them are law enforcement. It's down here off of Edith. The city does have them, yeah, and those horses are beautiful. But they use them more for crowd control and urban. The only time I've seen the mounted patrol is at the balloon fiesta. But those are not deputies. They don't work for me. I just have seen their stables there, so we don't have any horses currently.
I just assumed with Bernalillo County Sheriff's posse and all those horses over there that there was some relation. All right, thank you.
Under Sheriff Hedenio would love that.
Captain Roybal, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Welcome to the village.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, the financial audit?
I placed a audit in front of all you, so if you can see it, the public, you can go online to the Office of State Auditor's website, and it's there.
Excuse me, can you give your name and
Oh,
address,
yes,
please?
yes. My name is Robert Peixoto. I do not live in this village. I live in Placitas, New Mexico, but anyway. I am your financial auditor. You hired me to come in here and look at your books and records every year. That's what we do. We did it this year. We'll do it this next coming year, June 30, 2025. I'm going to go through the audit. Is there anything else you'd like to ask me before I start? No? All right, cool. We'll start on page 8, 9, 10. This is your audit report. It gives you an unmodified opinion. That's the best opinion you can have. It says your financial statements are fairly stated in all material respects. And again, I'm going to go kind of fast. If you have questions, please slow me down. I encourage you all to read the management discussion and analysis. I'm not going to read it to you. It's on page 12 through 17. And pushing forward on page 20 and 21, one thing to point out here on page 20 is you're holding $12 million cash in the village. Looking at that compared to your interest income, something I always look at, you have $520,000 interest income. It shows that you have good cash management skills. A lot of villages, a lot of places I see, they're lacking that, and that's what first thing I look at is what is your interest income on the cash you're holding. Going further, your finance director, Tammy Silva, you all should be very thankful. You have a very highly skilled finance director. That is a position that's very lacking in a lot of municipalities in the state of New Mexico. So she deserves a lot of respect and credit for what she's doing for the village. Pushing forward, I'm looking at page 22, 23, just looking at your cash balances in general fund. These are unrestricted cash balances of $8.9 million. And when we look at that and compare it to your general fund expenses of $3.7 million and transfers out of $784,000, you're carrying very nice cash balances. A lot of municipalities would be very happy to be in your shoes. And with that, again, your cash management skills are very, very important when you're carrying that much cash. We'll look at your scheduled deposits later on in the audit. Pushing forward on this, there's some reconciliations here from the modified accrual to full accrual basis accounting. The full accrual basis are the statements we're looking at up front, those showing the financial health of the village on the full accrual basis of accounting, which is the economic resource measurement focus, and it's the long-term outlook. Just to give you an idea, show you how your financial health is improving or decreasing. Your financial health increased at a rate of 3.7 million over the fiscal year 2024. When that starts going down, that means you're eating up your resources and there might be an area of concern. A debt note I want to look at really quick, because a lot of people make big decisions. They say, oh, I don't like debt, I want to pay it off. That's not the way to look at debt. These debt balances you're holding, they're currently charging you less in interest expense than you can get at the LGIP. So that means you want to keep your money at LGIP investments. And if you think about paying off these debt balances, this would be a very bad decision right now. That may change in the future depending on how interest rates change. But right now, it's very wise to hold this debt for the foreseeable future. And let me tell you what note that was. That was note 8 in the financial statements. I know I'm going fast. If you want me to slow down, please let me know.
What page is that on?
That is on page 48 and 49. It'll show you your debt roll forwards, and it'll show you your debt requirements in 5-year increments for the first 5 years and then 5-year increments. You have debt with the NMFA. Both debts are the NMFA. One is for 1.7 million. One another has a face value of 6 million, 6.068 million. I am going to push. Any questions? Nope. Excellent. Just point out, your major funds are up front in these financial statements. Your non-major funds are 66 through 67. When we were talking about $12 million in the village's name, a lot of that money is restricted to specific funds. I'd like to point that out to everyone because they think, oh, we have all this money. Actually, a lot of that money is restricted for specific purposes, but the vast majority is in your general fund. And then your scheduled deposit, 72. This is how you can tell how well you're managing cash. You have $10 million in LGIP. You have, I'm looking at the bank balance on page 72. You have 2.7 held in your bank. When you're holding cash in a bank, your lost opportunity cost is not having that money in LGIP or earning 5.5% on average throughout fiscal year 24. So every million, that's costing you about $55,000 to not hold it in an investment account. The point is you want to try to hold as little cash in cash accounts as possible, have most of that cash sitting in investment accounts. You're doing well. You could push this balance down further, but again, that would be a question for Tammy. And how are you going to meet your liquidity challenges? So that's all I have to say about your cash. Again, you're doing a very good job. And the last auditor report in here, 74, 75, encourage you to read this. This is showing what we're doing, what we're considering. Mainly when we come to an audit, we want to see that you have internal controls that are designed and operating to detect and correct misstatements, fraud, waste, abuse, and employees' normal course of performing their assigned functions. When we work with your staff, we give your financial staff, your city manager recommendations. I encourage you to talk to them about some of the recommendations we give you, but we're not seeing anything that came to the area of an audit finding, as you'll see on 67. There are no audit findings. What that means is this report bodes very well for the city. When you want to borrow money, when you want to go after grants, this is what people want to see, is an audit report just like this. Your risk is not having audit reports like this, so keep in compliance. Listen to your management. Danielle has been excellent working with, again, Tammy. I've worked with John at other municipalities, but you have excellent staff. And far as your audit's concerned, your Tammy is one of the most important people when it comes to this, and she's doing a phenomenal job. So you should be very proud. Any questions?
We are.
Excellent.
Trustee, Trustee Benavides, sure, go ahead.
First, but, so you said something that caught my attention. I think it's on page 29, the reconciliation of the statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances. You said that's at 3.7 million, and I think you said if that goes down, we should watch that, or what?
No. So what I'm saying is this is a reconciliation from the modified accrual basis, which is your current resource measurement focus, to the full accrual basis, which is your it's your economic resource measurement focus and full accrual based accounting. One of them focuses on resources that are able to provide your current resources that can provide for current needs. Others long-term horizon. But what I said was I was on page. Give me 1 second. Let me get to it. It was on page 21. If you look at, what I'm looking at is change in net position, 3.770 million. And right there, that is your change of your long-term horizon. That is saying, looking out over the long-term horizon financial health of the village. And that reconciliation you referred to on page 29, those are all your differences between the economic resource focus, which is the long-term horizon, and the current. Your current, you had to change to 376,000. Let me see, I might make sure I'm on the right, but yep. But what you had is you had capital expenditures at 10 million, depreciation expense of $1 million, loss on disposal of capital assets of 11,000. Again, pushing further, proceeds from debt of 6 million. These are things that are differences between your current resource measurement focus and your economic resource measurement focus, or your full accrual and modified accrual.
But it's a measurement of the financial health.
Yes, of your financial health of the long-term horizon or the current horizon. So your long-term horizon is doing very well.
Okay.
Because when you buy out capital assets, we expend that on the current, but we capitalize it on the long-term.
Thank you.
Yes. We couldn't make this very simple, could they?
No.
I don't have any questions at this point, but I didn't really look at this beforehand, to be honest, so I need some time to digest, and I'm sure I may have some.
I know you all have my number. I know I called you all, so you give me a call. We could talk about this at length, and it won't take the public's time.
That's right, you did call us, yeah.
Trustee Ranovich, any questions? The only, well, I just have a couple. One is I understand that you didn't have any findings, but you also state here that there could be weaknesses or significant deficiencies that may exist that were not identified.
That's correct.
So does that mean then that, and again, and I certainly trust what we're doing, and I don't have any reason to believe that that occurs. But then is there another layer of review that we should consider in terms of potentially improving, even further improving the way that we do our audit?
So we perform an audit in accordance with governmental auditing standards. We are not here to give an opinion on your internal controls over financial reporting. We are here to consider your internal controls for the basis of performing audit procedures, but not for the basis of giving an opinion on your internal controls. And that's what that report is stating, is we are gaining an understanding of your internal controls, how you receive money, how you do payroll, how you spend money. We're looking at your AP process, your receiving process, and your payroll process. So those are your biggest processes. And we design audit procedures based on our understanding of those processes. If you want to do more, yeah, you can always do more. But you have to draw the line between your cost and benefit of doing more.
So the other question I had is that when you went through your presentation, maybe I was wrong in understanding this, but you said that, or I believe you said, that the interest that we're getting on the money that we have available is low, and that we could then do other investments in order to increase the flow of cash to the village.
No, what I was saying is you're doing a very good job on your cash management, because you're holding around $10 million in LGIP, specifically at year end. Your overall interest you're getting on your funds in total is around 4%. You're doing a good job. A lot of people, if you have 10 million, you're not holding it in high interest bearing accounts. That is a very unwise decision, because you get eaten up. If you're holding $1, it gets eaten up every single year through inflation, especially for the past few years. So you're doing a good job. And let me just point that out, when the disclosure, what I'm going to look at when I look at these things, it is on page 72. Look at the monies that you're holding in LGIP. It's Local Growth Investment Pool, which is LGIP. It's the State Treasurer's Office. That's where you want to hold substantial amounts of excess cash. $10.2 million held there. It yielded about 5.5% through fiscal year 2024. Given inflation starting to drop down, they're saying that's pushing down, but nobody knows the future. No matter what, you need to make more on your money than inflation. Otherwise, you're just losing money.
Okay, very good. Sure, go ahead. Yeah.
I think I have one question for you. So I'm on page 72 with you. The 2.7 million, what do you typically see in municipalities our size drawing those balances down to and putting the rest into the LGIP funds?
Well, here's the thing, is you all had substantial amounts of expenditures over fiscal year 2024. When I look at page 27, you had 14.772 million. So the answer to your question is, I would ask that of management. Management should have an idea of what upcoming expenditures are, what projects are going on, what's out there, to have adequate cash in the bank to meet current needs. And you don't want to hold too little, you don't want to hold too much, because holding too much costs you. Holding too little, you can't meet those needs. You want to hold a just right amount.
So it's like paying taxes.
Yes.
You want to withhold what you're going to owe, and that's it.
Well, it's your lost opportunity cost is
Right.
not earning interest on money.
Gotcha.
But your cost of not having it there is not meeting obligations for your current expenditures.
Right.
So again, I would ask your finance director, who is doing a wonderful job of holding those expenditures at a good level. But it's good to know that if you're holding money outside of a high interest bearing account, that has a cost to it.
Sure. Thank you.
Any further questions from members of the board? Okay, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure working with everybody here. So thank you for hiring us.
Okay. Los Ranchos Elementary School, Craig Robinson. Oh, and, okay, Cindy Smith. Okay. Hi, Cindy.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Smith. I am the community school coordinator at Los Ranchos Elementary School, 7609 4th Street. I bring you greetings from the staff and students, and we wish you all a very happy new year. Our students and teachers continue to work very diligently to meet or exceed the student growth goals for the year. One of the things that Los Ranchos has been noted for and recognized for recently by the State Department of Higher Ed as doing well is building student skills measured by the Panorama survey taken by students. Another thing that leads to increased student beliefs in themselves and their school environment is when we have clear goals for them and their learning and keep students focused on achieving their year-end goals. Our latest testing results show that more of our students are meeting or exceeding those growth goals in math and language arts. Attendance is also a big part of that success. Our overall attendance rates are good, and we work closely with our families to reinforce the importance of attending school every day because every day counts. We have also continued with the extended learning day at the request of our families. Students select from a wide variety of activities and rotate through their top 3 choices every 5 weeks. For after-school activities, students can choose to participate at the Raymond G. Community Center or attend one of our after-school clubs. Currently, we have 54 students enrolled in chess, soccer, and robotics that meet Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays. We hope to bring the Boys and Girls Club to our campus in the near future to provide both before and after-school activities for our students, along with the Girl Scout troop in partnership with Alameda Elementary. Our school garden program will expand into 8 classrooms this year, and we are partnering with the North Valley Organics Farm to provide support for our teachers and students, along with some spring maintenance and fall harvesting experiences at their farm. Both North Valley and the Agriculture Nature Center are also offering field trips to their farms for our students. On March 6th, we will be hosting a health and community resource fair for our families, and we cordially invite you to attend that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Were there any questions at all from, sure.
I'm going to ask you a question that I asked Principal Avilos of Taft Middle School. And so back in August, I asked her this question. So this is the question. So if you consider the number of students you have enrolled at Los Ranchos Elementary, and you consider what would be full capacity, what percentage are you?
Well, I would say we're about half of that right now, and we are gaining some students. We are, we work very diligently to encourage parents to enroll their students in our school, and we just, in fact, we're actually planning on having a fair in the community and at the apartment complex in the near future to encourage enrollment at our school and the other schools as well.
So Los Ranchos Elementary is our namesake school, right?
Yes.
And I think people would be outraged if APS comes and tries to right-size that and do something different with that.
Yeah. Well, we work very, this year, for example, as a way to help address, we did offer a combination of kindergarten and first grade classes and a combination 3rd and 4th grade classes. Next year, we are anticipating maybe being able to offer a 4th and 5th grade combination class, but our numbers, our pre-K numbers have been very good, so we should be, because our goal is to be able to offer, to have at least 2 grades per grade level moving forward, and as we're keeping those pre-K students moving forward, and then also encouraging more parents to enroll their students at our school, we hope to see those numbers continue to improve.
I'm proud of the work that you've done, by the way. I'm thinking that other people need to step up just besides you, like, the governing body, for example, and the citizens, for example, to protect that school. So.
Well, we appreciate that support and those comments, and we're doing everything we can to ensure, and we have the support of our superintendent and our school board, and again, we will work very closely to do what we can to maintain, our presence in the community. And being a community school, I think, is definitely been a big part of that. Our garden initiative, getting more of our families involved in the gardening initiative at our school is going to be, I think, a big step forward with that as well.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Trustee Kiefer, any questions at all? Okay. Trustee Radnovich?
I have none.
Okay, I don't have either. Thank you very much. Thank you. Desiree Springer?
Good evening, Board of Trustees and Mayor Pro Tem. Thank you for inviting me to come speak with you all about my amazing school.
Desiree, can you give us your name and address, please, before we start?
Desiree Springer, 1100 Solar Road. So my name is Desiree Springer, and I'm honored to serve as the principal at Alvarado Elementary School. We serve students in pre-K through 5th grade and have an enrollment of 270 students. Next slide, please. We made great gains for the 2023-2024 school year. In reading, literacy, and English, we went from 40.7% proficient to 47% proficient. And in Spanish, we went from 10.4% proficient to 24.1% proficient. In math, we went from 18.1% proficient to 52.9% proficient. We increased our climate and culture score by 6% from fall to spring, which means Alvarado is a safer place physically and emotionally. These scores are a reflection of the dedication and hard work by our staff and students. Next slide. We were just named the National ESEA School Elementary and Secondary Act as a Category 1 school, which is awarded to schools exhibiting exceptional student performance and academic growth. We are the first school in the APS district to receive this award. If you could play the video. This is the video we submitted.
My name is Desiree Springer, and I am the proud principal of Alvarado Elementary, the star of the North Valley in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Alvarado Elementary is a warm, community-focused school that has been educating families since 1952. We offer a multicultural educational experience through our dual language program. We are a creative campus, and we are going on our second year as being a structured literacy school. By being a structured literacy school, we use explicit and systematic instruction to help students learn to read. We focus on a wide range of literacy skills, including phonological awareness, phonics, decoding, spelling, reading comprehension, and written expression. Teachers have played a vital role in driving positive change by embracing collaboration with their colleagues. Professional learning communities have allowed educators to share best practices, discuss challenges, and work together to improve teaching methods. This collaborative approach has led to more innovative classroom strategies, higher student engagement, and overall improvements in academic achievement. We have worked hard to provide a positive school culture that makes students and staff feel safe, respected, and encouraged to take risks, which has led to higher levels of achievement and engagement. Our school assemblies promote teamwork, school pride, and togetherness. We have created a Principals Advisory Council with the purpose of attending to student voices that require administrators to intentionally disrupt power structures and collaborate with students as legitimate partners. We build trust, flatten power dynamics, and act as a bridge between students and power brokers in decision-making processes. Despite not being a community school, we have strong community partnerships that support improved academic outcomes, whole child engagement, and family development. Our PTA works hard to fund programs and initiatives. We work with retired teachers who volunteer to help tutor students one-on-one and in small groups. We are a team at Alvarado Elementary, and every single person plays a vital role that contributes to our success. We are All-Star proud.
So that was the video that was submitted. PED gave the district $10,000 for myself and a team to go represent our school at the national conference next month in Austin. So that will be playing, and then we get to go network and learn how we can do better things. But continuing on, we have created an inclusive environment and work hard to make sure our students want to come to school every day. Promoting the importance of being at school every day, except when they're sick, helps us to make sure our students are receiving the daily curriculum they need to succeed. By making school a fun and memorable place to be, our students want to come to school on a daily basis. We have engagement events during and after school hours that bring our staff, students, families, and community together. Again, we are a team with everyone being a key piece. All voices are heard and advocated for. Due to recent right sizing, we are excited to announce that we're exploring the possibility of offering an agriculture program to our students. This new initiative will provide students with hands-on learning experiences, connecting them with the environment and helping them develop valuable skills for the future. I've already had the opportunity to meet with William Carlton from the Agri-Nature Center to explore a potential partnership, and we're excited about the possibilities this could bring. With the right resources and support, we hope to offer a meaningful agriculture program for our students. In order to make this a reality, I'm working towards securing funding to hire a teacher or at least a part-time teacher who can lead these efforts and provide students with the guidance and expertise in agriculture. We look forward to seeing how this partnership grows and how we can bring this valuable learning experience to our students. At Alvarado Elementary, we are always open to partnerships that broaden opportunities for our students and enrich their educational experiences. We believe that working together with our community can help create an even more exciting, more possibilities for our children. I brought some brochures, so if you all can take one and share all the wonderful things happening at our school, because if we can continue to build a strong supportive network that ensures the success of our students. Again, thank you for your time, and I look forward to a strong partnership with you all.
Thank you very much. Trustee Benavides, do you have any questions or comment?
I'm going to ask you the same question. Consider the number of students you have enrolled and consider what would be full enrollment. What percentage would you say that is?
They always talk about a magic number, so we're very close. That magic number typically in elementary is around 300 to 400. A lot depends on our budget. So to get like we don't have a full-time counselor right now, but we need more funding, more enrollment to get like full-time, things like that. But we do have openings, a few open classrooms. I did reach out to the district and let them know that we would really like to bring another pre-K program. We do have one currently. We'd like to have another class just so we can start building our enrollment from the bottom up, because last year when I came to Alvarado, we only had 11 and 14 students in kindergarten. So last spring we worked hard to do open houses, tours, to really promote our schools so that people, we're pretty hidden. So a lot of people hear about us from word of mouth or generations coming to our school. So that was a key piece in building our enrollment. So this year we do have 2 full kindergarten classes at 20. So again, we got to start working hard so that we can compete with other schools. Like it's hard, right?
So let's see, the full capacity is about 300 and you have about 200? So
I have 270.
And full capacity is what? 3?
There's the magic number that they do. It's like between 300-400. So we're almost right there.
So you're at least at 60% then.
Mm-hmm, I'd say so.
All right. I mean, I'm proud of the work you guys are doing.
Thank you.
I still worry about our elementary schools.
Yes. And that's why we're really trying to bring more initiatives and more things so our students can be exposed to and get them excited to come to our school and just have a lot to offer.
Yeah. Okay. Trustee Kiefer? Trustee Ranovich?
Do you have any, and thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Do you have any projections of school growth or the opposite of?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think what we'll be really telling in the next few years is our younger enrollment. I think we're going to be just fine with our upper enrollment where we're at. But again, it's recruiting those new families to come in. We do have a different program. We have a 50-50 dual language program, so it's different from Coronado. Mm-hmm. However, we just have to really promote our school and really showcase what we can offer.
How do you promote it?
We do a lot of open houses. Now in the spring, now that registration and transfers can roll through, we do open houses during the day, in the morning, afternoon, and also in the evening. We do a lot during the day so that parents can really see it in action, because it's different seeing a presentation at night, but to really go in and see. And then we also do personal tours. So if anyone calls or emails me, I will give them a tour.
I'd love to attend one of those open houses.
Absolutely, we'll
So,
definitely.
yeah, if you'd let us know, I think
Yes.
that would be really great.
Definitely.
Desiree, thank you very much. You folks are doing a wonderful job over there.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank
Thank you for
being here
inviting
tonight.
me.
Okay. Mr. Carlton. Okay, thank you.
Good evening. Can you hear me? So tonight I was just going to offer sort of a farm plan that we're doing at the Agri-Nature Center. I'll try to kind of go through it kind of quickly, but can answer any questions you have. So here's a map that we have, giving kind of an overview of all the different components of the fields. And again, so this is just the farm plan. We have an educational event plan on the calendar too, which weaves into this, and I can talk about that as well. But I was just going to start by kind of going through all the different parts of the fields and give you guys a sense of what we have planned. I'll start at the top at A, which is the corner right on by the driveway in Rio Grande. And so that's the sort of a lavender bed that could use some care. And so the plan is to renovate that and also incorporate into a new medicinal garden, a kind of a broader medicinal garden that we're developing a series of workshops around. There will be 12 workshops starting in March through the end of the year. We'll call it the Healer's Garden. And this is a gardening class with also workshops on how to process and harvest herbs. That has a component with the community garden where people have an option to also get a plot in our kind of expanded community garden. And the idea is to kind of work with people throughout the year and build community as we do it. Just above there, B, that's an area that's been kind of cover cropped for a couple years. The plan is to do a chili trial there. So I've been talking with the USDA has a seed bank that you can access for research and educational purposes, and I've procured some some landrace chili in addition to the landrace chili that is available through the market or just various seed catalogs and local sources. And so the idea is to grow climate adapted, endangered, rare, hard to find chilies that once were grown prevalent, throughout our valleys, starting in the early to mid 20th century, became less popular as more commercial industrial varieties became prevalent. But these landrace varieties, in addition to having kind of their own complex, nice taste, have a unique genetics that can be useful for uncertainty as we face climate changes or diseases, any kind of thing that can affect chili peppers. So the idea here is to grow these chilies and hopefully over time create a little bit of a seed bank at the Agri-Nature Center that can be useful for the community, part of a seed swap in the spring perhaps, and also useful for the greater community. Fields C and D, these are going to largely remain as they have been. I just want to point out that all these, let's see, C, D, A, B, E, which is the orchard, which we will expand a little bit. All of these require flood irrigation to historically. A and B, we have a drip system that we'll be setting up, but C and D and E, we really don't. And it would be hard, to say the least, to adequately keep these fields watered. And they obviously have a big impact as just driving down Rio Grande. So the plan is to keep those C and alfalfa, D, which is farmed by Joshua Allison Burbank. His plan is to keep it in corn, chili, and beans for 2025. We have a pollinator bed that we're planning as part of the Edible Trails program that we're doing as F. G, we're continuing with bees. We'll have more bees with the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy. Moving into the main field, I'll let Bill Shen talk a little bit about the community garden, so I'll hold off on that. But we've expanded the community garden. We have added some space for the Albuquerque Sign Language Academy to have an educational project on some of those beds, as well as doing our kind of a kitchen garden for farm-to-table events that we'll be doing. The hops yard stays the same. Big Jim Farms will continue to farm their plot, which is O. L and M is where we've been doing heritage grains, as well as our churro sheep and animal husbandry program. The idea here will be to rotate and to kind of grow some legumes and just help build the soil in those fields. We're going to maintain the old Anderson Vineyard. We are thinking about doing an added-on medicinal garden P in the corner of the Anderson Fields. The idea here would be to expand on what we're doing on A and create a space that would be a pleasant place to gather, as well as to grow plants. The only other thing I'll add here before letting Bill take over is S, which is the smallest one, is actually one of the most exciting to me. And this is a rain barrel fed, plastic-free garden, demonstration garden that will be using oyas and traditional waffle garden techniques, all off a cistern. And the idea is just to demonstrate different ways of growing things. The idea here is to kind of create different kind of farming vignettes, so to speak, for people to see, to be inspired by, to contemplate, to think about what might work for them or whatnot. And this is also something that we're working with the educational programs we're doing with schools, with the different school groups that come in, is to think about how to create small demonstrations or agricultural experiences that can spark deeper conversations. So for example, in J, which I didn't quite touch on with the kitchen garden, we actually have a small fiber garden that we're doing with dye plants and fiber plants, one of which is cotton. And that, for example, can be a really interesting way to bring in school kids and talk about not only where our clothes come from, but the history of cotton, the history of this country through cotton, things like that. So that's the overview, and I can go into all the details if you'd like, but I'll let Bill explain some of the projects that he's particularly involved in.
Hi, I'm Bill Shen. I'm a village resident, 8646 Rio Grande. Been a volunteer in Agri-Nature Center since about 2018. I'm very excited to see this farm plan. This is a very comprehensive plan, cover a lot of existing activity as well as new activities. I mainly work in my volunteer capacity as a master gardener, leading a group of master gardener, about 25 people in the course of the last 3 or 4 years, as a sort of training ground for the master gardener. And that's in that section R, which has 17 raised bed and about 50 vineyard. And so that's a good place to train the master gardener. But that's also open to the general public. The whole point of having the master gardeners, they are the interface between the extension agent and the regular backyard gardener. So they need to be trained, they need to have growing experience. A lot of them are green thumb, but New Mexico, Albuquerque is a very special place because most of the gardening books just doesn't really work here in New Mexico. Our soil, water is so unique. So we need a training ground for them. There are about 400 master gardeners in Bernalillo County. So 25 of them routinely will come here and sign up and join here. We last year, for example, produced roughly, we produced about 60 gallons of wine out of that 50 vine in the area. And the other new area that I'm really excited about is the area H. That's where you have 30 plots of community garden. Each plot is 33 feet long, about 100 square feet of growing space. And right now, there's about a dozen plot has been committed. And so there's still room for 18 or so plot for people to join in. I hope people will try it. This is the first year, so it's always going to be a little slow, but I am excited to participate in that community garden. And then, of course, there's other things like the herbal garden that would just announced in the newsletter that I immediately signed up for. It's such a great idea, and we really should engage the community for well-being and stuff like that, and knowing more about herbal medicine, and also just the act of going out there and garden. That's very good for you to enroll or get involved with the medicinal herbal gardens, which is an exciting new possibility. There's many things, as you see that's a big list, and there's a lot of interesting things there and wonderful activity for everybody.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation. Let me ask if there are any questions from the board.
Sorry, you may have covered this already in regards to Plot B, which is, you said landrace chili. I didn't catch what landrace means.
So a landrace chili is a chili that's been grown in the same place for over 100 years.
I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
to the point where it doesn't have to be selected to grow true to how it to type.
All right, so you might actually find some very unique hybrids of chili, right? Meaning, we people know about the Chimayo red chili, right, for example, but there might be other varieties that we're not even aware of, right?
There's, I believe, almost 20 or more landrace chilies in New Mexico in terms of the New Mexico type. So, for example, Chimayo being one, Jemez, Cochiti, all the different pueblos, most of the pueblos have their own. So there's that. We're also going to grow other chilies as well. So it won't be just landrace chili, but the focus will be on landrace chili in terms of seed saving. And then we'll also be growing other historically grown chilies of New Mexico and other chilies elsewhere, probably in either J or in B if we set up the appropriate system to preserve the seeds, but that's the plan.
All right, that sounds exciting, thanks.
Yeah.
Trustee Kiefer?
Thank you. This is a really really cool. It's something that calls to my heart and my passion. I just can't wait till retirement so I can actually start taking advantage and doing some of this stuff. But I have a question for you. I noticed that like looks like at least two areas here are being leased to individuals. How does that work? And is there an RFP process that happens for those individuals, or is that just a, hey, I'm interested in leasing 5 acres because I want to do something? I guess how does that process happen?
So these are all existing leases that I wasn't part of the process of getting them started. So I don't know how that actually worked in those cases.
Okay.
Going forward though, I think, if someone were to approach the Agri-Nature Center or the village and say that they're interested in a project or some sort of project that is aligned with the mission of the Agri-Nature Center and the village plan and all of that, then we could open it up for a proposal and take it from there.
I may be able to answer that a little bit better just because I'm actually was involved with the evaluation of the lease. So I do not know how these land were advertised in terms of making that available. I do not know about that part, but I do know when the lease is out there and people were sending proposal, and I'm actually one of the few people working with Joshua O'Haran, the previous agriculture manager. So he will send the proposal out to us, and I think me and another person, and also himself, Joshua, and then we'll evaluate their proposal and then decide whether, which one to select. So Joshua Eubank in the area D, and the O is also with the Big Jim Farm. I have reviewed both proposals and select them as or in the case of O, that he was the only person proposed. So, but there is a evaluation process.
Okay, great, thank you. And I guess one of the reasons I'm asking is kind of how this process looks, because I think, a couple meetings ago when we had Big Jim Farms, it sounded like they were interested in getting more land, right? Expanding what they're doing a little bit more. And so I didn't know if these were new or if they were existing, and kind of how people get into that cycle, or people get into that knowledge base, right? Or if it's kind of, hey, Big Jim's already here, so we let them know when there's an opportunity to expand whatever they're doing, and really making sure there's some type of synergy amongst the people, and then also amongst the community, and just the agricultural, not even here just in Los Ranchos, but also within the radius of Albuquerque, South Valley. There may be people that may be interested in doing something and partnering with the Ag Center and using that land, because land's hard to come by.
The proposal is only limited to 3 years.
2 years,
So,
okay.
yeah, so that way after the third year, they need to submit the proposal again and may potentially compete with other people doing that. There's some law that say we cannot grant more. The Casa Rodana, for example, want to have a 10-year lease so they could grow their vineyard. I would say, I don't know the rule, but the rules say you cannot have 10-year lease because we're not able to do that. So they in fact, walk away because of that. But it would be wonderful to have 10-acre vineyard. That would be wonderful. But
Sure.
Mayor Pro Tem, Trustee Kiefer, trustees, we did have an application process involved in this, where we advertised these pieces of property, and then a series of questions and what they plan to do with this land. And then, as Mr. Shen mentioned, we had an evaluation team that went through the proposals and selected who would be best fit for what we were looking at the time.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Radovich?
I have a few things. This is really great. Um, So we've been wrestling with what to do with the Anderson facility, the old Anderson house, for a long time. And it struck me when I saw this, and I think it's a really great plan. And it struck me when I saw this that there may be some opportunities to show how homes could be incorporated into gardens. And I realize you have a limited budget and limited personnel, but we're trying to figure out what to do with that Anderson house. And maybe there are ways we don't need to worry about the house just yet, but we can worry about the gardens. I'm guessing that you don't take care of the Anderson property. I'm not even sure who does, actually. Do we just lease that out, or Keene does that?
Mayor Pro Tem, Board of Trustees. That is a facility, so it's maintained by a facility, and we have a contractor that maintains the lawns and everything in the same fashion that they were maintained before. One of the things that was in the agreement and seems to carry through is maintaining that particular property in as not pristine, but as an original state as possible, the building, and then again the yards. So that's the message we had. We've basically just been having care of it. It has multiple uses at this point, where we are having the sheriff's office out of the pool house, which is not the main building, but their presence there is it's a deterrent to what could be happening at that building.
I think there may be ways, though, to make it better and make it an example for the people of Los Ranchos and beyond to be a better home landscape. And as you know, home landscapes change over time. It can be kept generally in the same shape, but I could see some real opportunity there and in the future, and a learning opportunity for the people of Los Ranchos and Albuquerque and the whole Middle Rio Grande. So that was one thing that came to mind. The other was I read a story the other day about how farmers, specifically goat farmers and sheep farmers, are putting sheep out there in fields that also are solar arrays to kind of keep the land clean and also graze those areas and provide some shade for the animals. And so I thought this would make a pretty cool demonstration. There is still some solar money out there to have a solar array that could also be an experimental garden to determine what might grow in a condition like that in this part of the world, in the Middle Rio Grande Valley. And so that came to mind when I saw this, and I can't help myself when I do these kind of things, or look at these kind of things, so sorry. The other thing that struck me is something that we don't often look at in the Southwest particularly, and that's hedgerows between fields. There's a whole culture around hedgerows in places like England and Ireland and in Europe. And, you can see the hedgerows right on this plan. So there may be something about those to study in the future, and maybe that becomes pollinator gardens as well for pollinators, and there could be some interesting things that come out of something like that. And then the last thing is, I know that the Master Gardeners are going to be gardening fields over at the ASL, not the ASL Academy, but Sandia Ranch, which surrounds ASL Academy. And I could envision some pretty interesting dual projects with them over there and with us at the Agri-Nature Center in the future. So sorry to kind of exercise some creativity there, but just a few thoughts that popped into my head as I was looking at this and thinking about what you're doing. It's great what you're doing.
Okay. I don't have any further questions, but certainly, gentlemen, thank you very much for the time and effort you're putting in. I know I'm getting certainly responses from residents that are really very appreciative of the time and effort that you're providing for the village. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to take a 10-minute break here if we can, and we'll come back and we will begin again in 7:30. We'll begin again at 7:40.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty cool. It could really be something. I mean, the Anderson, it could be something.
How about if Anderson also
Yes, ma'am.
Like a
residence-
demonstration?
A residence for other professors of agriculture to come
Oh.
and do a sabbatical or something like that.
Oh, wow.
You know?
You know, Valle de Oro was going point.
Would everyone please be seated so we can begin? We are, again, continuing the meeting. It is 8:41. Oh, I'm sorry. 7:40, I'm sorry. 7:40, okay. I didn't even notice. Okay, so number 8 on the agenda, new business. Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry, old business, yeah. So pursuant to section 3-11-2, NMSA 1976, mayor vacated office, appointment by the governing body in case of the death, disability, resignation, change of residence from the municipality of the mayor, the governing body shall appoint by majority vote a qualified elector to fill the vacancy for the unexpired term of office. Board of Trustees will discuss and vote on the appointment of Mr. Lawrence Rayel to fill the office of mayor for the unexpired term of Joe D. Craig, and if appointed, the effective date of such appointment will be determined. So is there a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Lawrence Rayel? And if yes, the appointment date. Is there a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Lawrence Rayel for mayor. I did want to make one correction. I think you said NMSA 1976, and I believe it says
78.
78.
Okay.
So just wanted to make that correction.
Okay. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay. Discussion from the governing body, Mr. Benavides?
Yeah, I want to say that this topic came up during our December meeting, right? And I know there was a discussion about it, and everything that Trustee George Radnovich said was true at the time. And I felt the same way that George did at the time, but I think circumstances are different now. A staff member anonymously reached out to me and expressed an urgency that we need to do this. So that's one consideration, and another consideration that's not related to that conversation is the danger of an urban fire here in the village of Los Ranchos is real, and our windy season is coming upon us in April, and I think we have the makings of a perfect storm here. If we continue with this dry winter that we're having, and you consider that there has not been a big fire in the Bosque for quite a while, and you also consider what happened in November with that freakish snowstorm, and think about all those limbs that fell in the village. Well, that happened in the Bosque as well. I think we will need a mayor very quickly.
Trustee Kiefer?
I'm happy to hear that Trustee Benavides is understanding the sense of urgency that I've been feeling for several months now. My position hasn't changed. The sooner the better. And I think Mr. Rayel is willing to do this. At least he hasn't changed his mind yet that I've heard. And I applaud him for doing this, and we need the leadership, and I look forward to working with him yesterday.
He may not be as smart as we thought. But yeah, I met with Mr. Rayel and talked to him about this, and we talked similarly to what Trustee Benavides was just talking about, and so I feel very, very good about the decision to nominate and and put in place Lawrence Real for our next mayor.
I certainly agree. I certainly agree. So let's call the question. Question is now to approve the appointment of Mr. Lawrence Real. Trustee Benavides.
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, I believe we needed to also decide on the appointment date.
Appointment date. That's going to be discussed by Mr. Real. In just a moment, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So should we wait on the
Well,
motion?
on the appointment date, it says it was going to be determined, and we're going to have an opportunity for Mr. Real to come to the microphone and talk about that. Okay.
Okay, so I'm a bit confused. So do we do a motion and the second, and then Mr. Real comes up and discusses? Okay.
Attorney Chappell is going to respond.
Mayor and members of the board, I think it's appropriate to have the motion just to appoint him as the mayor. Then you can listen to him and you can have a separate motion to pick a date as to when he would assume the office.
So we can vote on the motion.
Can vote on the motion and then have a separate motion for the date he assumes office.
Right.
Okay, so you're calling for the vote.
So vote on the motion then to approve?
Yes.
And we'll have a second motion then, so. You have a first and second. Yeah, we already have first and second, so Mr. Benavides?
Yes to approve.
Yes.
McKeever? Radomich?
Yes.
Mr. Reno, yes. Okay. You are approved.
I'm just like watching the whole process and enjoying the conversation. Are we on? Sorry about that. First, let me thank you all for your support and your confidence in helping lead our community. And I am honored to serve as your next mayor. Thank you so much. As I was coming over today, I was just driving around the community and looking at what an amazing place we have, and an amazing place that we all have that are fortunate to live in. Not only as I see the folks that come to the trustee meetings and some of the meetings that I've seen on, if you will, on my computer, it's just amazing how many people care so much about our community. And I think that has always been a very, very important piece of why this place is so special to all of us. And although we have a lot of challenges, and we've heard some of those this evening, we also have a lot of great things going on in our community. And celebrating those and working together and finding commonality of interests so that we can always view the opportunities for the next generation that will come after us. I raised my kids here, as I said to many of you years ago, my 3 children. They're probably all watching this on their video screens, if you will. But more importantly is that, the memories of going to the farm, of just walking to the bosque, going to Alvarado Elementary, to Los Ranchos, just the idea that we're in the middle of an urban area and we have the ability to enjoy a semi-rural lifestyle, if you will, with a really an important nod to what really is New Mexico, right? The agribusiness and the agri, if you will, component of all of our state. I mean, we have it right here. And within 5 minutes, you can be in an urban area and also have the opportunities to enjoy what a big community or a big city has to offer. That is really amazing. However, we also have the challenges of how do we preserve that? How do we make it work for all of us? Look, we're all connected and we'll always be connected with Albuquerque, with Rio Rancho, with Bernalillo County, unincorporated area of Bernalillo County. How we make that work for all of us is really super important. I'm always reminded when I was in my previous jobs in Albuquerque about how many people from Los Ranchos go down Rio Grande Boulevard into Albuquerque versus how many Albuquerqueans from the west side go down Rio Grande Boulevard to get to the other part of Albuquerque. We're all together in this, and I think to the extent that I will say to all of you, my commitment is to keep an open mind, open door, to listen to the concerns of the community, but also to make sure that we find, again, the commonality to make good decisions, but also to ensure that we're all working together. One of the requests that was made of me when we had an open house several weeks ago about this position was potentially having a community meeting so that community members could visit and share with us the concerns that they might have. I've really thought about that. I think it's an amazing idea, an excellent idea for our community that we find opportunities, and I will visit with the trustees and the staff to see when we can maybe schedule some of those meetings. Look, there are so many other people who can't come from work because they're busy with their families or they have to work late, et cetera, and finding some time to have those conversations makes for a stronger community and makes for quite frankly, for good decision-making by your elected officials. And I would just say, last but not least, Joe was a good friend of mine, and I really admired him, and I supported his candidacy when he was running for mayor. It saddens me that that in many ways I step into this position because he made a decision to run for mayor and unfortunately wasn't able to fulfill the term. So I will tell you all that I am interested in working together with you all trustees and working with the staff and giving you my 100% commitment to do the best job I possibly can for our amazing community. So thank you so much, and I appreciate your confidence.
So, Mr. Rial, one of the questions that folks have is in terms of your own plan in being sworn in as mayor. Have you given some thought to that?
I have, and thank you, Trustee Renau. Unfortunately, and with life and life as life have it, I have a trip next week that I have to take with my daughter who is in Denver going to school and who needs some gloves and a hat, I think at this point, as cold as it is up there. I would like to see if we can take the step of the swearing in process in the first week of February. I think that would be an appropriate time. I want to make sure that we have all of us collectively as a body available also for the most of the legislative session because we have some requests before the legislature that are very important. And also, quite frankly, as I can imagine that John and the staff are beginning the budget process and making sure that we're all collectively making decisions about how we allocate the community's funds, et cetera, to help continue the great work that we're doing. And so I think February would be a really good time, and I would hope that that works for all of you. And Commissioner Kiefer, Trustee Kiefer, I hope that's soon enough for you as well.
Mr. Rial, I was going to bring the Bible up right now and deliver the oath, so, but no, thank you, February. Great.
Thank you. Thank you all.
So then, can we make a motion then that it would be in the first week of February without a specific date? Because that's still to be determined.
Is this on? I think in order to begin a term officially, mayor and members of the commission, you need a specific date. In other words, you need to pick a date because that will officially be the start of his mayorship, and that's something that's in the discretion of the Board of Trustees to determine. So if you all can agree on a particular date, I think that's the much better process.
So, to be done this evening?
What's that?
To be done this evening.
I would think it should be done this evening because there's a lot of planning, I'm sure, going on. And so if the new mayor can pick a date in February, whenever that is, then you can vote to approve the start of the term at that point.
Members of the trustees, I am happy to pick February the 5th, which is the first Wednesday in February, if that works for all of you. I had sort of waited to see if that wouldn't conflict with any other meetings that the village might be having on that day, but if that day works for all of you, it certainly works for me.
Are there comment at all from anybody about that? Yeah, go ahead, Gil.
So let's see, the staff meeting is on Tuesday, right?
Tuesday, yeah.
Which would be, no, I think it's Tuesday, right?
Right.
The February 5th is Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. So, so I'm wondering if February 4th would be fine, or even February 3rd? So I'm just wondering if you want to get involved with the staff meeting or not.
Sure.
I
Trustee,
think 5th would actually work, you know,
sorry?
and the next week is, again, another staff meeting, so that's, I don't think that's going to be an issue.
All right.
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, we can move the staff meeting.
Well, there you have it. Let's do February 5th, and you guys decide what you want to do.
I would respectfully ask on February 5th if it could be any other time other than 11 to 12.
So you could be here.
Because I'd like to be here, yeah.
All I have to say is, I think my husband's gonna be really honored because that's his birthday.
Very good.
So that day works perfect for me.
I think the date works just fine, and we can agree on a time. It potentially is going to be later afternoon, you know, so it will allow people to be able to attend. Okay.
All right, thank you.
So do we have to make a motion then that, so I can make the motion that Mr. Riel will be officially sworn in on February 5th at a late afternoon timeframe. And let's see, and well, I guess that's all I have to say, really, in terms of what has to be done with the motion.
Would you mind if we swore you in at Hops? No, just kidding.
Okay. So, again, so is there a second to the motion?
I will second that.
Okay.
Frank?
So late afternoon, meaning like 4?
4 o'clock? Okay.
At Village Hall?
At Village Hall.
It's whatever you work out.
Okay, so let me then call the question.
Did it get second?
Yeah,
You did.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Let me call the question. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kufel?
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rhino, yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's great. Nice.
Okay, moving on to new business. Discussion and approval of resolution 2025-01-01, resolution establishing governing body meetings and public notice requirements as required by the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978, Chapter 10, Article 15. Okay. Is there a motion to, I'm sorry, Danielle, did you have a?
Mayor Pro Tem and trustees, per section 1015-1D of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, it does require each public body to determine its notice procedures at least once a year in a public meeting. Accordingly, each public body should adopt an annual resolution or other announcement at a regularly scheduled open meeting stating its procedures for giving notices of meetings. In front of you is resolution number 2025-01-01, outlining Board of Trustee meetings and notice requirements. This resolution is adopted annually, typically at our January regular meeting. I ask for your approval of this resolution and will stand for any questions once the motion is approved.
Is there a motion to approve resolution number 2025-01-01?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 2025-0101.
Is there a second?
2024, isn't it?
25.
Oh, then there's an edit needed on page 27.
We're on page 23.
Right, but on page 27, it's got the wrong number.
Oh,
That's,
The signing page.
it is resolution number 2024-0101 is rescinding.
Got it. That's okay. I'll second it.
So, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any discussion from the governing body? Trustee Benavides.
Yes, Danielle. So if I look at page 24, it talks about the majority of the Board of Trustees can schedule a regular meeting or special meetings if you have a majority of the trustees that want to do that. I assume that would have to be properly noticed, right?
Mayor Pro Tem Trustees, yes, absolutely. If it's a special meeting, we require 72 hours notice.
So this is the conundrum. How do we assemble a majority of the trustees to determine whether we want to meet as a majority of trustees for a particular issue, right?
Mayor Pro Tem Trustees, you could do so at a regular meeting while you do have a quorum and discuss that. Secondly, you can contact me and I can do the correspondence with the Board of Trustees and gathering information on dates and subject, et cetera, and running it through the mayor and making sure that those dates are completed.
Okay, so the process of calling you, saying, hey, one trustee has an issue and wants to determine if there's a majority that feel the same way. So they contact you, or you need 3 trustees to independently contact you? Is that how that works?
Yes, sir, I can reach out and then contact each trustee to see if they're in concurrence with everyone else's decision.
Okay, I have no burning issue. I just wanted to see how that works. Thank you.
Trustee Kiefer?
Good question.
I have no questions.
Trustee Ranovich?
I have no questions either.
Trustee Rano, no questions. Okay. Okay, so again, we are, excuse me. So let me call the question. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rano, yes. Okay, motion passes 4-0. Number B, discussion and approval of resolution 2025-01-02, a resolution declaring the property located at 335 Schulte Lane, Northwest, Los Ranchos de Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87107, 6209, a continuing menace to the public comfort, health, peace, and safety, and ordering the removal of any and all weeds, dead limbs, ruins, rubbish, wreckage, debris, refuse, inoperable vehicles, and dangerous buildings from the property. Administrator Avila.
Mayor Pro Tem, Board of Trustees, this property has been a issue for an extended period of time. The owner has actually been cited to court and failed to appear. And the property has not yet been cleaned up. They have been noticed. And again, once cited. So we're in a situation where the statute allows us to pass resolution to clean up the property and pass the costs on to the owner. Now, they'll be given an additional time to clean this property by date certain so that we can hopefully avoid this, but this is the approval to allow us to proceed with that action should it be necessary.
I'll open the floor for those who have signed up. Danielle, do we have?
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, I have no individuals signed up for this.
Very good. Excuse me. So public comment then is closed. Is there a motion to approve resolution 2025-01-02?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-01-02. I'd also like to state it's sad that the village has to do this, but it seems very warranted to me.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion from the governing body, Trustee Benavides?
How did this village administrator, John Avila, how did this come to your attention?
Well, there have been continued complaints about this property. The sheriff's office has actually asked for assistance in dealing with this property. So it's been there for a while. We have tried the normal procedures, citation, and have not had the results for getting this property cleaned up.
Second question, the property owner, is that property owner elderly by any chance?
Mayor Pro Tem, Trustee Benavides, not compared to me, so I would say no.
Incapacitated to the extent that they
not that anybody has indicated.
Okay, I mean, if there was a desire to clean up, but they didn't have the means, maybe there could be help for that sort of thing, right? But no, I think this is something that we see throughout the village, actually, right? There's many more examples of this going on. Yeah, that's all I have.
Trustee Kiefer?
I have no questions.
Trustee Ranovich?
Nothing more.
Yeah. I've driven by the property a couple of times, and it's warranted, and something that I know that the village administrator and staff have been very cognizant of, and residents have talked with us about it. So yeah, again, I certainly, I'm certainly sorry that it's come to this point, but I think we need to make some kind of move on it. Okay, so let me then call the question to approve the resolution 2025-01-02. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rano, yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, number C, discussion and approval to satisfy the language in the Village Planning and Zoning 2013 Codified Ordinance, Chapter 9, continuation of business action shall be formalized pursuant to Statute 3-11-6A, subpart 1, NMSA 1978, subject to approval of the majority of the members of the governing body. The majority shall submit the names of employees to the Board of Trustees for confirmation, Mayor. And I'm going to suggest that I would like to appoint John Avila as the interim planning and zoning director. So, Attorney Chappell?
The mayor and members of the board, the appointment of having a someone designated as the planning director is necessary because there are certain functions under the ordinances that are within the discretion and under the direction of the planning director. So those functions having to do with many planning functions and other things cannot be carried out unless somebody officially has that title. So the discussion was that Mr. Avila should be able to step in. He will not be the planning staff in terms of making the recommendations, although he will participate in that. But he does have the authority to make the decisions and directions that are vested in the planning director until a new director is hired and appointed.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney Chappell. Okay. So is there a motion to approve the appointment of Administrator John Avila as interim planning and zoning director?
Yeah, sure. Motion to approve John Avila as the interim planning and zoning director.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion from the governing body? Trustee Benavides.
Yeah, how's that job posting going for P&Z director? Do we have applicants? I mean, do you think this is going to be going on for several months, or no idea, maybe?
As it's posted, we haven't had any applicants as of yet. We had few applicants last time, and there's I guess a real need to make sure that we're getting that word out and getting somebody to apply as somebody's qualified and a fit for the position.
Will you be given any extra compensation for that role?
Well, the overtime is 0, so no. It's a no compensation extra.
Thank you for stepping up then.
Trustee Kiefer?
So I guess the only question that I would have, well, actually, two. To Trustee Benavides's point, you know, you quickly said no compensation, but I know that in government, it's a common practice of temporary salary increases and TSIs. Is that something that us at the board could approve while you're doing dual functionality?
Trustee Kiefer, Board of Trustees, you could, but that's not how this is intended. Normally, this would just be matter of course in other locales where the ordinances are written different, but you've imbued this position, the planning director, so you have to have somebody be in this position for that authority. So.
But with the authority comes the work.
Correct, but that work was there, the responsibility was there before. I've become more involved by necessity in that department already.
So that leads me to my second question, I guess, is, and I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but could you see a potential situation where John, as the administrator, has a direct conflict as John, planning and zoning director? And if so, how does that work?
I don't foresee one, but if there was, I'd have to step back from one of the roles. So if a decision needed to be made, luckily there'll be a mayor involved. So an administrative position can make those decisions.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Ranovich?
John, have we, I know we advertised, and I believe last Friday was the deadline for people to apply. Was that correct, or am I?
Well, positions that aren't filled, we've extended until filled. There's a few.
There's a few
positions that need to be filled. So we've posted all those, and we'll continue posting them until we fill them.
Have we advertised outside of the state
Mayor Pro Tem Trustees, we've sent notices through APA, which they also have a wide net to get that out. So we've done that. Of course, in-state municipal league, we've done online advertisements, of course, the web, our website, all our bulletin boards. So we've tossed that net out, and as you know, and in previous hirings, we've had difficulty in getting that role filled. As we've talked in previous Board of Trustee meetings, we don't know where the planners are going. You know, we've reached out to UNM to assist us. We've gone to the planning school. We've tried to get some internships to try to groom and get those individuals into the village, and it's just a tough field.
There's a organization that's part of the APA called Western Planner. You contacted them as well?
Through APA.
Well, I want to thank you for stepping up and taking that position for the time being, John. I know that's going to add to your workload, and it's probably going to subtract from your administrator load at some level. So if I come up with any other, I mean, since I've done similar things in our business, if I come up with any other options, I'll be sure to reach out. But thank you.
Yeah, I'd certainly mirror what Trustee Ranovich has just said. And I will certainly work through my own network to see if we can try and find some additional applicants. But John, thank you very much for stepping up and being able to do this. Okay.
Mayor, could I ask one other question? How many applicants did we have the last time that we
had 2.
Just 2? And did we contact the second person to let them know? We did.
Mayor Pro Tem Trustees, yes. I reached out to that individual to see if they would be interested in applying.
Okay.
Okay, so let me then call the question, again, to appoint Administrator Avila as the Interim Planning and Zoning Director. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Radnovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rano, yes. John, thank you very much. Okay, D, discussion approval, excuse me, in accordance with the Village of Los Ranchos, 2013 Codified Ordinance, Chapter 9, Section 9.2.2, Planning and Zoning Commission. Membership, the commission shall consist of 7 members who shall be appointed by the mayor with the advice and consent of the members of the governing body. Excuse me, members shall reside within the village. No member shall be appointed to the term that will extend their tenure beyond 5 full years. I submit the following names for appointment. Excuse me, for calendar year 2025, Gwen Baldwin, Connie Barrow, John Edward, Claire Haywood, Mary Homan, Robert Martinez, Drew Tagliapetra. So, Administrator Avila.
Mayor Pro Tem, Board of Trustees, this is again an annual appointment, and I'll leave it to the Board of Trustees to make. I mean, Mayor Pro Tem is appointed the Board of Trustees, then confirms.
Okay, so is there a motion to approve the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission as listed in the 2025 calendar year? Is there a motion to approve?
I'm having a difficult time. I want to ask, I cannot ask a question before we make a motion, correct?
Right. you know, we will have some.
I'll make a
point of discussion.
motion, I'll make a motion to approve, but I definitely want to have discussion.
Got it, okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so is the discussion now from the governing body? Trustee Benavides.
I'd like to hear Trustee Radnovich's question first, and if you don't mind circling back to me.
Sure. Okay. Trustee Radovich?
It strikes me that because we will have a new mayor in the following months, and I guess this may be a question for you, Mr. Chappell, as well, that that mayor should have the opportunity to appoint members of the Planning and Zoning Commission because there's such a short time frame between now and that point. So my question to Mr. Chappell is this business, and this may be a question for Administrator Avila as well, but is this a appointment that could wait for less than a month for the new mayor to review these names and the positions and perhaps make changes if he felt the need?
Mayor Trutem and Trustee Radnovich, I believe the statute says they must be appointed annually. I think if there is no appointment now, that there will be a gap in their authority as the Planning Commission until they are appointed and approved. In other words, they don't automatically carry over. So as a procedural matter, I think it's important to approve them earlier rather than later. The way the statute reads in the ordinance, it doesn't even seem like you can appoint vacancies, but we've done that in the past. Like the last year, first year I was here, there were 5 appointed because that's who was available, and 2 were appointed the following, director. But I mean the following meeting. But only those 5 had the authority. So I think somebody could contest their authority if they're not, approved now.
There are extenuating circumstances in this case because we don't have a mayor other than the mayor pro tem at this point in time, and we will have one in very short order. And so I question whether we can't wait till that point in time.
Mayor and Trustee Radnovich, I can't tell you it's an absolute rule, but I know if their term has expired, then we have a problem unless they're reappointed. So I don't know if that'll create any problems or not, but that's just a little bit different than the wording of the ordinance and the statute.
Trustee Bennett?
So, Attorney Chappell, if I hear you correctly, if we do not approve of the commissioners this evening, then we potentially will not have a P&Z meeting in February. Is that what you're telling me?
Trustee Benavides, that is my concern, that if something comes before the Planning and Zoning Commission, they will not have authority to act because they've not been appointed.
So we can approve a subset of what we see here, right, tonight, if that's what the trustees wanted to do. And then we have an active P&Z commission in February. Is that correct?
Excuse me, when you say approve a subset, does that mean you can approve some but not all of these?
Yes.
I think it takes the advice and consent of the trustees to approve them. If the trustees do not approve all of them, then I think if you have a majority, then you can still operate.
Okay, thank you.
What is a majority? 4.
you're going to have at least 4 people to be a quorum. And that's what I mean, you approve a quorum.
Trustee Kiefer?
I have no questions.
I think the point you bring up, Trustee Ranovich, is certainly an important point, okay? But I also see that there could be things coming up in the next few weeks, next month, that we need to have a commission sitting in order to hear those particular cases. So I'm, you know, and I want to ensure that we're able to continue doing business, but certainly if you have some of the thoughts on that, I'd certainly like to hear them.
I have another thought, and if the mayor, the new mayor next month, because he'll be presiding at this meeting next month, he'll have been installed before it, wanted to make change at that point in time, could he?
Mayor Pro Tem and Trustee Radnovich, I'm thinking as fast as I can. I don't see any provision in the ordinance for the mayor to terminate someone once they're appointed to a 1-year term. My guess would be if the mayor went to somebody and said, look, we'd like to have you step down, they may in fact do so. But I don't think there's a statutory or an ordinance that says the new mayor can come in and terminate all the people that were appointed to a 1-year term.
Okay. Can I ask a question?
I thought the same thing, George. I was thinking the same way. Go ahead, Joe.
So we have a motion and we have a second. So we could vote on it, and if it fails, we can make another motion. Isn't that correct?
That is correct, Trustee Bennett.
No, at this point, there's not an opportunity for public discussion. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to approve the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission as listed for the 2025 calendar year. So let me call the question. Trustee Benavides?
No.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rhino? Yes. Okay. Okay, thank you. And thank those who have volunteered to step up. We certainly appreciate that as well. Okay. Discussion approval of a purchase agreement for water rights to be used at the Agri-Nature Center, as discussed in closed session on January 21st, 2025. Attorney Chappell.
The Mayor Pro Tem and members of the trustees, the terms of this transaction and the agreement itself was discussed in the closed session. At this point, it would be appropriate to have a motion to approve the transaction based on those discussions and proceed with the transaction and allow the village to sign documents related to that, or a motion to disapprove that transaction, whichever the Board of Trustees would like to do. Because of the nature of the subject and the need for confidentiality, a discussion of the terms would not be appropriate in the public meeting.
Mayor, Pro Tem Trustees, and Attorney Chappell, please clarify. I had sign-up sheet on this water rights for public comment. However, based on the confidentiality, would we allow that this evening?
The Mayor Pro Tem and Clerk, I did not know we had public discussions on that, but there will not be public discussions of what was discussed in the closed meeting. If you want to have a public discussion, people can come up and express their comments, but the terms and the parties and so forth to that should not be disclosed at this point.
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, that will be at your discretion. I had 2 individuals sign up under that to express their concerns or issues or favor. But at this point, it's going to be up to you, and that is probably my...
Yeah, if they signed up, let's have them do that. Okay.
So we'll have them speak prior to the motion.
David Montoya.
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, this will be 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
State your name and address for the record.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm David Montoya, 8831 4th Street. First of all, I want to commend, this is a great idea for us to set up a bank for the village because we're so big and we have opportunities coming up. I want to commend you because I think this is a good idea, not only for now, but for in the future. But I'm also up here to remind everyone, because sometimes we don't know, even people that are informed don't realize that there is an ACL program. It's called the Alternative Curtailment Location Program that the MRGCD has had for years. And I double checked. I went and spent hours at MRGCD to find out if we still have that. So just keep this in mind, that the Palindrome property that the village owns still part of it. Now the county owns the other part because it's been passed from Palindrome to the county. We still have those curtailment possibilities, and it doesn't take formal process at all to implement it. All it takes, these are irrigation water rights. They're not pre-07 rights that are transferable, and then none of that. This is just merely a plan that you can move water that you're not using in one location and put it to another one. Please don't forget that, and let's not lose it. Thank you so much for this time.
John Everett.
Please state your name and address for the record, and you have 2 minutes.
Good evening, John Edwards, 16 Applewood Lane, Northwest, Village of Los Ranchos, 87107. I would implore you to buy the water rights. I've seen a lot of you at the Los Ranchos Bakery. Imagine them baking without flour. We have an agri-nature center. You're not going to grow anything there without water. And I've been on the agricultural committee for the village for, I think, 3 or 4 years now. And I found it shocking that a village that has that sort of a logo, mission statements, value statements about agriculture, they don't have water. They don't own water. It's kind of laughable. We've lost vision. Connected with that loss of vision, El Vado, where they store most of the water to irrigate, that project stopped, and there is no water per se in El Vado, and there's no leadership within the Albuquerque city community, the village of Los Ranchos, or the county spurring the governor or anybody else on for that matter to get that project completed, fixed, and so we can begin to store irrigation water. If you go back to the original Indians that lived in New Mexico, they represent probably less than 1% of our total population. If we don't have the ability to store water, buy water, and own water, then 99% of us are gone. So put it in those terms. So it's important that we store our water, and then when we have water to buy, that we have it so that we can be congruent to what it is that we espouse in the way of values, missions, and visions. And I think you really need to solidify the acquisition of these water rights so that we can continue to put forth the great projects that our new fearless leader of the Agricultural Nature Center can pursue. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Okay. Is there a motion then to approve the purchase of water rights to be used at the Agri-Nature Center as discussed in the closed session on January 21st?
Sure, I'll make a motion to purchase water rights.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion from the governing body. Trustee Benavides?
I'll just say two things. I see the need and I see the value.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a no-brainer. When you have the opportunity, you take advantage of it, so I support it.
Yeah,
Trustee Ranovich?
I agree with Trustee Benavides. I see the need and I see the value.
And I'd certainly agree with other members of the board, okay? So let me again call the question. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rano, yes. Okay. Okay, so this is for discussion only regarding Albuquerque Public Schools, status of communication for projects and future of community impact. So we have been meeting with Albuquerque Public Schools. I want to give an opportunity, though, for members of the community to speak to this. And so, John Edward?
Oh, excuse me. John Edwards, 16 Applewood Lane, Northwest, Los Ranchos, New Mexico, 87107. So I went to the local schools here, Los Ranchos, Taft. My kids went to the local schools here. And when I found out that Taft was being shut down, it came out in a meeting with the superintendent of the schools and with the school board president who lives within our community who doesn't send her kids to our schools. That they were closing Taft. And in the process of trying to have those communications about what they were going to do and turn it into another school, Mr. Raynow and myself asked them, how are you trying to communicate this? And they said, well, we don't know how. And I said, have you reached out to the neighbors to tell them that 100% of the students would be driven in by car? And they said, no, we don't know how to do that. And when the superintendent of the school tells me that, and the school board president tells me that, there's clearly a communication problem. And there lacks to be a vision. Several times I've testified in front of your body and the P&Z that the village should have their own school district because APS is not accountable to us. And for a community, the number one job besides safety is, of course, the education of our children for our future. And we don't have any ownership in that. I love the presentations that were done tonight, but as we know in this community, there is not a regular ongoing conversation between APS and the village of Los Ranchos. They don't know what our visions are and they don't know what our values are. We don't hold them accountable to what our expectations are and what we want them to be. And we outsource a lot of things in this village. When I grew up here, we had our own police force. We outsourced to the Sheriff's Department, Bernalillo County Fire Department, APS, and we hold none of them accountable to a standard. And many people in this village think that the educational solutions of our community are tied to private schools, by which we put our money where our mouth is.
The speaker's time has expired.
I'd like to request more time because I think I'm the only speaker.
John, can you take another 30 seconds and we wrap it up?
Sure.
Okay.
But we can't expect a community to have their educational answers by private schools where we have helped sponsor municipal bonds to build those institutions, because most of the people who live here can't afford those schools, and those schools don't have the resources to accept those kids. And so we're kind of creating a two-class society. And so we need to have proper communication from the institutions for which we rely on to make ourselves a community. And I'd implore you to have a discussion about creating our own school district, because it doesn't seem as though they care. 100% of the schools that are on the closure list are all within the green belt. There's not a single school on the Mesa, east or west. 100% of the schools that are on their closure list are right up and down the valley here. And they're all north of I-40. And when the school board president was asked by us what percentage drop in student population at Alvarado will happen by infiltrating those kids from there over to the new school, Coronado, at what point will that become a closure school? They could not answer the question. They didn't have a standard. They didn't even know if they had a standard. So you have the ability to be a leader vocally in a communication and expect a standard by reaching out to them and demanding more. Because we're not getting it.
Thank you, John. Okay. Camille? Can you hand her the microphone? Sure. No,
Just stay there.
Here we go, Camille.
I'm coming to you.
You can sit down.
My pleasure.
I'm dangerous on this.
Oh, you're doing great.
Camille Vados, 427 El Paraíso Road, Los Ranchos. And I retired from APS, and I knew a lot of the administrators that did the presentation at the last P&Z meeting. I was concerned that Los Ranchos, who is considered to be a community education school, that there was no representation, no communication, nor there was no representation from Alvarado, who feeds into Taft. And when I knew that the possibility of Taft was going to be changing, the principal, who I knew from Valley High School, Mr. Lovato, didn't even know, then there is a definite disconnect in communication. And communication is so very important. You know, I had a daughter. I raised 5 children, and one of my youngest child did go to Taft. That was amazing. And I think the community needs to know, not just one day before a vote. A survey in 87114, and they didn't do a survey in our own zip code, 87107. That is appalling. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So are there other comments from the members of the Board of Trustees? Trustee Benavides?
Well, let's see. We're just doing discussion, are we?
Right.
All right, and we're not voting on anything, okay. I mean, the threat is real, right? And I'm sure APS holds their cards very close, and they're not going to tell you what they think might be on the chopping block. You know, we might be able to figure things out by looking statistically at schools that closed that had declining enrollment. At what point did that happen? You know, was it below 50%? And you know, I'm sure there's a complicated thing that they do. They try to consolidate in different regions, might be a factor. But I mean, I love the idea of taking our public schools away from APS. I just don't know how to do that. It's a tall order, but boy, wouldn't that be wonderful? So I think that, the focus for us should be, how do we get the enrollment up? And yeah, the trend is people that have the means will send their kids to private schools because they'll look at the ratings of the local schools, and if the ratings aren't high enough, they'll go someplace else. So how do we get their ratings up in term? We saw some of those statistics by the principal of Alvarado today about how they've improved, right? And their scores are improving. And so maybe reaching out through the community will help that, getting people to volunteer, and the connection to the Agri-Nature Center is a wonderful connection. I think that could be a draw that's already happening. But, way back when my kids went to Los Ranchos Elementary, I did hands-on science, and, things like that really boost the performance of the students. It gives them encouragement. It gives them something to aspire to. And so I want to leave people with that thought about how we accomplish that. But the other thing that we should not ignore is the problem that APS has, right? And they call that right sizing. Okay, so there are two ways to address that problem. I look at it as a fractional thing, students per square foot of facilities, right? So if the numerator is going down, well, the denominator needs to go down too, but they don't want to give up any property. So I would encourage people not to ignore that as a problem, but how do we work with them to help them solve that problem in ways that benefit us? So that's all that I have on that topic. Thanks.
Trustee Kiefer?
So I don't know that there's much I can really add. My experience in going to school was a while back, and I did go to private school. And I didn't have children, so I don't really understand the school systems as well as some of my peers. But what I do know is that we need to figure out ways to attract students to the schools. And I do like the collaboration with the Agri-Nature Center. I think that's great. I think we can even expand into, with the animals, because I think animals are good. Kids get excited when they see animals. And so to bring a, miniature goat to an elementary school would be awesome for children to see and actually give them exposure. Pot-bellied pigs, chickens. There's all kinds of stuff that are very kid-friendly that we could do and help them advertise. Because, hey, if kids saw commercials of go to school with goats, they would be like, I want to go there. So I think we need to be innovative on that partnership. But I've done a lot of thinking about this, and John, I'm hoping I can ask your help, because one of the things that really bothered me after the December meeting is in the testimony by one of the leaders of APS, they said that they had these meetings with the previous mayor and administration. And kind of looking back and looking at the timeline of the swearing in, as well as when Joe got sick and passed away, I didn't want to get into a debate with one of the leaders from APS, but it just rubbed me the wrong way. And I think for the record, so that we have it for our own record-keeping purposes and for public information purposes, I'd love to know the dates of those meetings. If you can reach out, I'm sure it's on somebody's calendar. I'm sure it was on Joe's calendar, maybe with the village, but if they had these meetings, I'd love to know what those dates of the meetings were with the APS leaders. And so that way we know when these meetings really took place and who they were with. And I think it's important to have that on the record as well.
Mr. Oliver, did you have any comment? I know we have talked about something.
Mayor Pro Tem, I did take note of the request, and we'll be following up on that. In my report, I basically put a small timeline of conversations with APS. There's expected information sharing that we're supposed to have, and they're supposed to be sending that information to us of activities planned and projects. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get specific information we might be looking at, but we can go back to them with more requests for information. We don't have that yet. They should be providing it to us. When we have it, we'll share it with the public. But that's about all we've been able to get as far as any kind of cooperation. They are going to do a traffic analysis and share that with us in April. It's about the same time they'll be starting construction on Taft. So we're also looking for the design of what they'll be doing on Taft. We haven't been able to receive that at this point. So there's a few things outstanding as far as getting information. We continue to request, and we'll follow up the best we can for the community. APS is an independent political subdivision. They, have operated with their needs in mind. Hopefully that schools students are primary, and I think they are. They just some of this transaction looks like it's backroom math. So people are deciding what happens with property versus students, and I think the community school, that community emphasis isn't there, but they may not have another option. So maybe we can provide them with another option. So that's where I hope our creativity can work with theirs to get something that brings back a community school for Los Ranchos.
Okay, thank you, John. Let's see, Trustee Radonovich, do you have any comment?
Well, I believe that schools should be part of our community. And it seemed pretty obvious to me at the last meeting that they aren't, at least not the way APS looks at our community. It's really about their downsizing or modifying their school system for their benefit. I think there's a reason why APS's class sizes and school populations have gone down. And it's partially that there are options now, charter schools, but it's also based on, I think, how well APS is doing in the eyes of the community. And at the last meeting, it didn't seem like they were doing very good in the eyes of our community. I think there are ways, and I think we should deploy them to make APS listen. One is, I think that they need to pay for a traffic impact study for especially Taft, if not others. I think it's really important that we have a traffic impact study there. I also believe that there are ways that APS can aggregate picking up students and pick up students from throughout the metropolitan area, as opposed to having individual transported students come to our schools, specifically Taft. I would love to see Los Ranchos have its own school system. I agree with what Trustee Benavidez said. I think that would be an awesome thing, and I believe Trustee and John Edwards as well, and I believe Trustee Kiefer said the same thing. I think that's a pretty hard row to hoe at this point for Los Ranchos, unless it became a big goal for us and a long-term goal for us, because we have a lot of other fires or a lot of other irons in the fire at this point. So I think we need to approach APS in a very real way to make change and to get them to hear what our residents and what we want from them and have to say.
Yeah, I've been working with Administrator Avila as well as with our public safety officer, Fred Radosevich, in order to try and push APS to be more accountable. We'll continue to do that, and we're planning on having an additional a series of public meetings for residents and parents in order to express their concern. I hope, though, that we're able to get to a point where there is agreement from the district on how they're going to ensure that communication occurs, and that we are at the table. And one of the issues that we've had in working with APS is that they tend to kind of keep their decision-making internal rather than to expand it to the community. And we first heard about this, actually, John was one of the first parents that came to me, and we were talking about it, and the first time we heard about it, the discussion was around traffic. Okay, but it's a discussion that needs to be expanded much beyond traffic. Traffic is certainly going to be a concern, not only with Taft, I agree with that, but also with Taylor as well, because the roadways are just not suited for the kind of traffic that we're talking about. But we're going to continue to push for APS to be present, and for us to have a voice when those decisions are made that affect our children, parents, and the community. Okay. I was going to say, John, do you have anything to add to that at all?
Well, I think one of the things that's important is that APS has created a self-fulfilling prophecy for our schools, and that they have not taken care of it. I mean, my daughter goes to Taft, and they don't have ceiling tiles in none of their halls. They don't have any air conditioning until the end of September. They create a self-fulfilling prophecy of having very old properties and properties that aren't well maintained. And parents, at the very least, if they can't afford a private school, they want to at least send their kids to a school that looks good. If you walk up to the place and it looks like it's taken care of, and these places, this is where the village falls way short. The village says, you're not taking care of your property. Just down the street, how long have you taken to get to 335 Schulte? It's on the same street as Taft. You don't even take care of your property. Make it a place of aspirational desire to learn, to want to be there, to want to attend. And they don't meet the basic minimum standard of saying, that place looks awesome. I would like to go there. I don't know anything about it, but it looks great. Who wouldn't want to go there? They don't operate that way at all. And this board has never once done anything remotely to
So we do, yes, sir, yeah. Can you keep it short?
I'll try.
Okay.
I grew up on the mic, yeah.
Yeah, we go to the mic, yeah.
Tom Donaldson, 6668 Edgewood Drive. What I hear, and this is going to be really, really, it's tough words. I hear a lot of people bitching because people aren't doing it, but they haven't been sitting there. I don't hear, where is the people that are rising up and saying, why are the ceiling tiles falling down at Taft? Why aren't they going to the board meetings? Why aren't they want you to take care of that for them without even really telling you. I mean, how many parents have called you to say that the ceiling tiles are falling down at Taft? Okay? The public has to take up and do their work as well. This doesn't happen in a vacuum. I've always been surprised that Los Ranchos didn't have supporting groups for each of the schools, and that they weren't going and saying, what are the programs we want to have here? Let's figure out a way to do it. We have the means to be able to make it happen. We can go to the city, to the village, and say, we want $300,000 to do this program in this school. Would you do that? Because if we had better schools, all of us would have more valuable property. It's like somehow whether you expect somebody in a big system to be taking care of really special people here, and they can do it, but you got to be a squeaky wheel, and you can't wait till the last minute and squeak and think that it's all going to be fixed. You needed to have been doing this all along, and it should be. We should be doing it. And I as a non-child household, would gladly pay extra to make sure that we had good schools here and that the kids here, that people wanted to live in Los Ranchos because they have some of the best schools in the state. We should be doing that, but it takes people to step up and say we want to do it. And what I've seen here is the people who really want that, they go out and put their money into a private school, and they've left the people here, the other people who can't afford it, to have to take what APS doles out. And I would strongly urge that the village make it a priority to figure out how to do that, create a support organization for each of the schools, and make them better schools, and make a big deal out of it when they look like crap, that they are out there beating up on the APS board to say, don't let our schools look like crap. We won't accept this. But you got to do it. You can't expect somebody else to do it for you. You got to get out and do it yourself.
Tom, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Okay. Okay, so let's move on then to the financial business. So Treasurer Fisher.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, trustees. Before you is the cash report for December 31st, 2024. The ending cash balance at December 31st, 2024 is $13,119,537.17, which is an increase of $361,722.40 for the month. Year-to-date excess of revenues over expenditures is $691,189.46, with a few unusual or significant items. Thank you.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve the December 2024 cash report?
Yeah, motion to approve the December 2024 cash report.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion from the governing body, Trustee Benavides?
Let's see. Yeah. I think I have one question. so this is pertinent to today's discussion about the schools. There's a connection here. So we're hiring a private security to take care of our apparently of our Anderson Fields and the house and the Agri Nature Center. So I see that because I see paychecks going out to International Protective. I assume that's what that is. Is that correct? Okay. All right. I mean, I am curious about the alarm, if anything was found, but that's probably not a question for you. That may be for Fred, because there was a response to an alarm. But it feeds into this idea that public services are eroding, no doubt, in terms of police, schools, fire protection. We hear, California, they're going to hire, they're hiring private firefighters now if you have a lot of money, But I think that's all I have. Sorry, I didn't mean to belabor that point.
Trustee Kiefer?
I have no questions.
Trustee Ranovich?
I just have one or two, very little. Mr. Chappell, is the payment to the Ward firm of almost $9,000 the final payment that we'll be paying them for the TIF with the friends, I'll call it?
Mayor Pro Tem and Trustee Radnovich, I can't tell you that for sure. I don't review those bills or approve them, so I don't know what that covers. Okay, so I don't look at them, so I don't know how far that covers. We have recently asked Vince Ward to address the claim that made by Palindrome at the Planning and Zoning Commission that the decision that was rendered by Judge Barilla Shepherd was no longer in effect and no longer controlled these processes. Since he drafted the settlement agreement and they were basing that on the settlement agreement, we asked him for his opinion. So there will be that, but not reviewing any of the bills or anything like that. I don't know what it covers, so I can't answer the question.
Yeah, more about the work level, I guess, than the bill is what I'm asking.
Very, very little work. He's been out, hasn't done anything for a month or two, at least a month. We asked him for that one opinion, so there will be that.
Okay, good. I did notice that the GRT was down around the holidays, and I thought that was kind of odd, and it tells me that the kinds of, that I see the businesses along 4th Street evolving, and I think they're heading in the right direction in terms of the health of 4th Street and the health of those businesses. So I'm hoping that next Christmas, that'll look better, because that was a little bit of a, almost $100,000 drop. I think yeah, that's my only. Hold on, I'm sorry. One other
Mayor
question.
Pro Tem, trustees, Trustee Radnovich, if I could just comment really quickly. Just a reminder that the GRT that you're looking at for December is actually October activity. So what happened around the holidays for November and December will not be reflected until you see January and February GRTs.
I see. Thank you. Appreciate that, Tammy. I also noticed that we're still paying the Adams Crow law firm to the tune of around $8,000. Is that the firm that is still representing Mayor Lopez, ex-Mayor Lopez?
Mayor Pro Tem and Trustee Radnovich, that firm is representing the village on 2 foreclosure actions, one involving the Blatchley property, one involving the Ross property. They had more fees this time because we went through a mediation They had spent more time on that. The cases have not progressed much, but we were negotiated a settlement where the first lender will pay the village $50,000 that covers their attorney's fees and some damages. So that's what they're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Chappell. That's all I had.
Yeah, I don't have any further questions myself. So I'd like to call the question again to.
Can I ask
Sure,
one
go ahead.
follow-on question? I'll make it quick. So this is about asking Attorney Vince Ward for an opinion about I watched the P&Z meeting, and I watched the part where Attorney Marcus Real said that the Judge Lopez's decision basically negated the decision made by Barella Shepard. And I heard you strongly disagree with that, right? So you had an opinion there. I mean, do we need to pay for another opinion?
Excuse me, Mayor Pro Tem and Trustee Benavides.
Yeah.
I believe that Marcus Real's statement didn't relate to the other judge. He said the settlement agreement was a complete release, and therefore that case was dismissed, and therefore the judgment was not the controlling law. He didn't comment on the other judge's opinion. That's the reason they're going through the planning process. I disagree with that opinion, but since Mr. Ward drafted that opinion drafted that settlement agreement, we thought it was appropriate if that issue comes up that we have the same opinion from the person in charge of that litigation.
Okay, I think it's a poor use of our money, to tell you the truth.
Okay, so so there's a motion again to approve the cash report. Let me call the question. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Ranovich?
Yes.
Trustee Rano, yes. Okay, motion passes.
Mayor, just a moment. The reason we want that opinion, I'm sorry to interrupt, is that argument is going to be made to this board at the next board meeting. And we wanted an opinion in the file so that we don't have to deal with it at that point. But they're going to make the same argument to you as the Board of Trustees at the next
that
meeting.
opinion is very predictable. I mean, I don't see it changing a thing.
Okay. Okay, B, discussion approval of resolution number 2025-01-03, resolution recommending a budget adjustment request related to Capital Improvements Fund 311 for the Village of Los Ranchos. CFO Silva.
Mayor Pro Tem, Trustees, before you is Resolution 2025-01-03, and this is a budget adjustment request for the 311 Capital Improvements Fund. What this budget adjustment request is doing is adding both a line item for revenue and expense for a capital expenditure, a capital appropriation received by the New Mexico Department of Transportation for right-of-way plan, design, and construct roadway improvements for the 4th Street project. The amount of the appropriation is $1 million. And we're requesting this revision to add both a line item for revenue and for the expense to be in compliance with state statutes for our budget requirements.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve resolution number 2025-01-03?
Go ahead, somebody. Go ahead.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-01-03.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion from the governing body?
None.
Trustee Benavides?
I have none.
Trustee Kiefer?
I have none about this, but I do want to say, Tammy, you weren't at least live where we could actually see your face. I just want to say congratulations, thank you. The auditor sang your praises, and we are very fortunate to have you. And so, well, I have you on the line. I thought I'd take that opportunity to just say we're proud that you're part of the Village of Los Ranchos, and thank you for everything you do.
Thank you very much, Trustee.
Okay. Trustee Ranovich?
Ditto and yes.
Trustee Randall, yes. And again, thank you very much for all your time and service. Okay. So discussion of resolution, let's see. Okay, so discussion on resolution number 2025-01-04, resolution authorizing acceptance of the 2024 audit. CFO Silva?
Yes, trustees, before you is resolution 2025-01-04. This is a resolution accepting the fiscal year 2023-2024 audit. This is the audit that was presented earlier this evening by Southwest Accounting Solutions. And this is a requirement by section 2.2.2.10M 4 of the NMAC audit rule. It states that once the audit report is officially released to the agency by the state auditor by a release letter and the required waiting period of 5 calendar days has passed, unless waived by the agency in writing, the audit report shall be presented by the independent professional auditor to a quorum of the governing authority of the agency at the meeting held in accordance with the Opens Meeting Act. And by doing this, we will be in compliance with, again, state statutes. And I stand for any questions.
Okay. So first, is there a motion though to approve resolution 2025-01-04?
Sure, motion to approve resolution 2025-01-04.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, let's stand for questions. Trustee Benavides?
No, I was really impressed with the presenter, and I mean, if I compare his presentation to presentations in the past, I thought his was much more interesting, and it was pretty obvious he understood everything that was in that report. I mean, the guy must have taken a speed reading course because he talked really fast, but he had a lot of information that was very relevant as well. So, of course, I'm going to support this.
Trustee Kiefer?
No questions for me.
Trustee Radovich?
Ditto again, and yes.
Yeah, again, I don't have any further questions as well. So let me then call the question. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Radovich?
Yes.
Trustee Randall, yes. Okay.
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, I apologize for the interruption. However, on item 10B, I think we rolled right into not getting a vote because trustee Radovich said yes, ditto and yes, but we didn't go through the call for the question.
Oh.
So I'm not certain that we did get a vote on resolution 2025-01-03. And if we did, let's just do it again, just to have on the record. I had a motion by trustee Kiefer, a second by trustee Benavides. So can we go through the vote, please?
Oh, okay.
So,
This is the bar, right?
yeah, we'll then redo the vote. Okay. So again, is there a motion, do we have the motion to approve resolution?
Just do the vote, right?
Yeah. Let me call the question. Trustee Benavides?
Yes.
Trustee Kiefer?
Yes.
Trustee Radovich?
Yes, and thanks for catching me.
Trustee Randall, yes. Okay. So for discussion only, the mid-year budget review, CFO Silva?
Okay, good evening, trustees, Mayor Pro Tem. So I have done a comprehensive look at the budget now at mid-year, and in doing so, went through all the line items to look and see where we're at. And after doing that review, met with John and just kind of gave him an overview, letting him know that overall, I didn't see a need for any mid-year budget review where we would make actual bars and present those to you. And here is a one-pager as to why. So after the 6 months of activity in fiscal year 2025, the overall budget is on track. The general fund as a whole, and all of this can be seen on the cash report provided to you as well if you're looking for where this information came from. But the budget is on track. The general fund as a whole is at 44.13% of the total budget expended. There are very few line items in the general fund that have exceeded the 50% usage point at this point in the year. And no line items in any of the other funds exceed 50% at December 31st. So the only department that's over 50% of the total budget expended at December 31st is the 1840 department, which is general administration. It's currently at 58.58% of the total budget expended. And there's a few main reasons why this line item is higher. The one line item that attributes to it is the attorney fees and settlements. And while this line item was expected to increase due to risk and ongoing activities, we did increase this line item from the prior year by 50%. However, due to this being a volatile account and the unknown amount of expense due to the activity that's happening, this line item is currently at 83.26% of the budget expended as of December 31st. And part of that is a large settlement fee was paid out of this account, which attributes to that large expense. And there are still several ongoing cases that attribute to that as well. So if you removed that one settlement payment for the total usage, the line item would drop to 58.33% usage. And overall, and also we did do a bar that happened at the December meeting to increase that attorney's fees and take into account that $87,000 that was paid in the settlement. So we did bump that up a little bit to kind of cover that. But overall at this point, since that one department is only at 58.58% and the fund in total is only at 44.13%, my suggestion is to hold off on a budget adjustment request until the end of the year. A bar may or may not be necessary by the end of the fiscal year if some of the items taper off over the next couple of months. And so I will continue, as well as John and the new mayor coming in, will continue to monitor it throughout the remainder of the year and take this factor into consideration when we forecast into the new 2026 fiscal year budget and the potential activities that may be happening in that attorney's line item. And I stand for any questions.
So as I understand it, the next budget cycle is going to start in March of this year?
Mayor Pro Tem, trustees, that is correct. We actually internally I am starting to look at the new budget right now. I will start my forecasting and my procedures now in the next week or so. Our management and our supervisors will also start their departmental budgets over the next couple weeks and have some figures to management for discussion at the beginning of February. And from there, I will start compiling like the first rendition of the budget that we will be presenting potentially at the end of March in a budget workshop.
Okay, so let me ask Trustee Benavides, any questions?
No, great job. I think we're in good shape.
Trustee Kiefer?
No questions here.
Trustee Radnovich?
I have no questions as well.
Thank you for continuing to monitor this. I think the reporting is great, and I think we're all in agreement that you're certainly presenting us with wonderful information that we can use in order to make decisions. Okay. So again, there's no need for voting on this, but we now move to number 11, which is the trustee informal discussion. So Trustee Benavides?
Yeah, and I'm aware of the late hour, so I'll try to be quick. The people are very much concerned about the homeless population, and you heard the Bernalillo County officer say, he'll enforce the laws. So whatever laws we have, that's what he'll enforce. So I urge that the village look into what we can do with our ordinances so that we don't see encampments. I think, you know, and they're obviously human beings that needed to be treated in a humane way. But I think there are other ways that they can be taken care of, like shelters and food kitchens and things like that. But I don't see camping along the street as being a good way to live. So I encourage the village to look at what we can do with our ordinances to make it more difficult for anybody to set up an encampment in the village of Los Ranchos. The other thing that I've become aware of, and George may talk about this too, is the El Camino Hotel is for sale. I did not know that. The asking price seems to be a little high, but who knows? That's an interesting opportunity for the right price. I'm not saying the village should get it, but maybe we should think about what we could do with that if we were to get it.
Well, in fact, it's interesting because I talked with a village resident a couple of days ago, and they were really interested in that hotel, and they were asking a phenomenal amount of money.
Yeah, $2.5 million.
Just a phenomenal amount of money.
I think that's the
and
price.
there are some conditions in there in the contract that they were just not willing to abide by.
Yeah.
So, but I agree with you. I mean, I think it can be a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, for the right price.
For the right price. Yeah.
And I mean, that's how these things go. They ask for one price, they don't get it, and it depends on whether they really want to sell it or not, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I touched on this earlier. There's an imminent fire danger, I think, that we have upon us when the wind starts up. It's been a dry season so far. There has not been a major fire in the Bosque near us for quite some time. And if you consider all the dead wood that we must have because of that freakish snowstorm, I think, having a new mayor on board that really knows the city well, because I think that's their jurisdiction to clear firewood. I mean, to clear all the fuel. And it's probably a big job. I mean, it's a lot of acres there, but we ought to think about what can be done to mitigate that fire danger, because wind and fire is a horrible combination. Wind, fire, and fuel. So let's not cross our fingers and hope we get lucky. Let's see. In the reports, I know you're not going to give the reports, and that's okay. But I did notice that there was something about a community building in the Del Norte open space, and I think the words used was a planned community building. So I don't know what that's all about. But I think if there's a plan, it should be shared, and it should be publicly scrutinized as to what that plan is. I mean, we saw the errors with a palindrome, and let's not repeat those errors with whatever we're thinking of doing in that open space. Yeah, I mean, Fred had a pretty interesting public safety report, but one final thing about the fire danger. Let's have at either our February or March meeting, let's have a report on what's being done to mitigate the fire danger. Let's get that on the agenda, please. Okay? That's all I have. Thank you.
Trustee Kiefer?
So just a couple things real quick. I think I saw in one of the documents, Administrator Avila, that you put together about Village Hall and a block wall for sound purposes, kind of around those, or Old Village Hall, sorry, kind of around those residences because of the pickleball court, which I had talked to one of the neighbors because he's one of the houses that's right adjacent to it, and he wasn't opposed to not even having to do block, but maybe just those sound barrier sheets, which may be more cost effective and two, could probably be a lot more inviting than just a solid block wall. So maybe something that we want to look at, because he said it was super inexpensive, but that he couldn't hear anything when he tested it out, but he wasn't gonna pay for the whole thing. So that was kind of that. The other thing was, I don't know if we have, I know at one point we had an individual, or at least I've been told, I shouldn't say I know. I've been told that there was an individual that would reach out to residences that had a lot of acreage to provide kind of farming services or baling services and things of that sort. Because, you know, one of the things is if we make it easier for people to, as they age in place in their houses with these properties, and provide them the resources or access to resources to maintain these properties, they may be less likely, and or their families less likely, to just cut them up when that time comes and subdivide them into much smaller parcels. So I want to kind of explore what can we do to help individuals in providing those resources, to have that referral source for them to help maintain those large properties that you know are pretty much around Rio Grande that we all come to love. And then the last thing I had, just because I thought it was kind of funny, is I read this report in Belgium that they encourage their residents to have 3 chickens. And this was a town about the size of the village. And by each town having 3 chickens, they were able to cut down their green waste by 80%, because, or food waste by 80%. And they were able to put their local egg factory out of business, because they were able to supply their areas because so many people took advantage of it. So I thought it was pretty cool that, you know, we can encourage things like that, and see the benefit. The other thing, to Trustee Benavides's point on the bosque, is maybe that's something that we look at with Cowboy Max and his goats, and getting the goats out there to do their job and eat, because I know Rio Rancho's been doing it with a lot of the arroyos, the properties that back up against the arroyos that get all the tumbleweeds, and they have them cleared in 4 to 6 hours when they bring out the big herd. So something to look at.
I've seen some goats in the village already, yeah. Okay. Trustee Ranovich?
I continue to see people speeding, passing, running stop signs, et cetera, on Rio Grande. And I know I brought it up last month, and I've brought it up before, but I really think I see Rio Grande as potentially more important than 4th Street, because Rio Grande is the street that commuter traffic is going down and causing a lot of issues in terms of just noise and speed. And I think we need some kind of a plan for Rio Grande, whether that be, you know, I ride it every day, and as I was riding down the other day, I was thinking roundabout, oval about, stop signs, more stop signs, more traffic control devices, cameras. And I just think we need to look at Rio Grande, because I think cutting that, making that traffic difficult for people that are just using it to drive through, would improve the village in so many ways. And if they want to drive down Rio Grande and enjoy the beautiful, you know, scenes as they drive down, great. But let's slow them down. It doesn't need to be a commuter route. So I'll I'll keep harping on that for a while. The fire plan, I agree. Interestingly, beyond just hiring goats or just, other things that are, I'm not saying this right. Let me back up. The U.S. government has plans and guidelines for making homes fire safe or safer. I've used them myself in our work at my office. And I think it would be good for us to look at some kind of fire plan that considers setbacks for trees, specific types of trees, specific types of vegetation. Goats are part of that, cleaning up the bosque is absolutely part of that. But I think we really need to look at a plan. What happened in LA is just scary as hell. And we really could easily be in that position. And of the two places in the Albuquerque metro area that could occur, one is the valley, the other is the foothills with the pinon juniper level and forest up there. And I really think we should be looking at that. And that may be something for future reference, but I think we need to look at it. And then the last thing I wanted to bring up is I thought the FU sign was going to go away at the end of the year. And here we are on the 21st of January, and it still says FU. So did something not happen that I thought was going to happen, or am I renew the permit? Renew the permit for the FU sign? Yeah. Do we have an FU permit procedure now? Or? Okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
Mayor and trustees, we have run into some issues in that enforcement that we may need to discuss in private in a closed session. And so the problem is it relates to the structure of our ordinance and some Supreme Court cases on the structure of our ordinance. We have engaged for litigation counsel, Randy Audio's firm, because he's under contract with the village, very experienced. And we're trying to figure out how to present that, which direction to go, but we took action, but like I said, we did encounter some issues that we think have to be dealt with.
I would like to see and I'm sure the other trustees would too, like to see that closed meeting ASAP. It just sends a bad message about our village, and it just needs to go. Either that or we should all put up FU signs, I guess, since they're not a problem for Los Ranchos. I mean, I'm kidding about that, but we really need to take care of that. It's just horrible. So I look forward to that closed meeting. And I'd be more than willing, as one of the trustees anyway, to attend that meeting before the next trustee meeting.
We're ready to present it, whatever the meeting is called.
Okay. But that's something we should schedule for sure. Yeah. And it can be a special meeting outside of our regular BOT schedule, so we can get it done quickly. Okay. I guess the only comments that I have, and I appreciate the comments about fire danger. I've been thinking about the same thing in looking at the pictures that we're getting from LA, and one of the things though that I'd add is that, well, a couple of things. One is that we need to educate our residents about how to protect their homes in terms of vegetation, et cetera, okay? The other piece of it is maybe there needs to be something in ordinance that requires it, And in that way, then, individuals coming in, it's not a suggestion, it's mandatory that we need to be able to protect, life and property. Okay. The other comment that I have just generally is.
Can I respond to that
Sure,
just
go
real
ahead,
quick,
yeah.
Frank? We actually did a plan in Los Alamos, our company did a plan in Los Alamos that required a fire protection plan as part of that subdivision, because it was up in the fire burn area from the
Controlled burn.
from a controlled burn from the, I'm trying to remember the name of that big fire that they had up there. Anyway, it can be done, and other places are doing that. So you might have even talked about it up in Taos, John.
Oh, we did. So just a couple of things, and briefly, regarding the fire, back to our ordinances. There's a thing called the Urban Wildlife Interface, and you can adopt that in your code, your planning zoning code, along with something less formal, which is the Firewise community, which is how you get everybody involved at the resident level to be part of it. It's sort of like Neighborhood Watch. So that's what that does. So I just, those couple things. And then as far as, I did in my report say what APS Communications was, so that you had that, and you have that to guide yourself with. And then as far as the open space, is our open space area, there are projects to improve that and moving on. They're small, but then we also have a conceptual to find out what we want to do with that space. So they have to both continue at the same time. We just, unfortunately, if we slow down and do nothing, the place will fall apart. So we do have to do some improvements as we go, and they're to make it workable. So just leave that out there.
Good. I just one further item, and that is that we are having a VC zone open meeting on Thursday from 6 to 8. And the purpose of the meeting is to first educate our residents about the VC zone, and so that so that they have more information about what is included in the zone, identify some of the major issues that we see in the current ordinance, and then be able to get public discussion on it. They'll be in they'll be scattered in round tables, so we can have people talk to each other, be able to do report outs, and be able then to move forward in terms of coming up with some additional suggestions for how we might be able to improve the ordinance. But it's a moratorium that we have through June, but we need to get busy on it, and hopefully this will be a catalyst for us to get that done. Okay. Any other comments from the board? Okay. Again, so do I have a motion to adjourn?
Jump on it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
So I'll second it.
It's 9:45. Thank you all very much.
How'd we do, Lawrence?
Yeah.
Do we get a grade?